Open those beautiful brown eyes and welcome yourself back to Rivals Fight Night, home of long shots, short shots, and something like this. Not really sure what it is, but that guy got blasted. Look at this shit.
It's a back shot bucket. That's what it is.
Is it? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I knew Uber could identify a back shot or two. We've got Avast, the park ranger, live in Chicago. Avast, how's your world today?
I mean, no wildfires, luckily. But also, I don't really think this is a really park ranger fit, honestly. This is giving more so like I'm the senior partner.
You're CEO of some shit, that's for sure. And so will be FlyQuest at the end of tonight, because I'm told they've been practicing, Uber.
Yes,
good?
I mean, listen, this team has been on a bit of a break. We haven't seen them here at Fight Night, and also since MRC, they've been a little quieter. That wasn't a great tournament from them. We'll dig into it a little bit later, maybe, but we're looking forward to seeing how this team, who are full of great players, hit the ground running in a bit of a new patch. We have
Mitra Cassava saying LG in an NA Challenger match. Am I misunderstanding something? Dios mío, mi amigo. We have two LG teams. The Luminosity squad you're used to watching in the EU finals is not in this roster. FlyQuest, though, is. Let's take a look at Adios, Energy, Light, Vez, Spark, Chief, Cooper-tastic, and Zelos. Light's got to be the most exciting, right, Avast?
I mean, Light definitely has been a big player for the squad overall. Honestly, I think for me, like when you look at how they play, I've also really loved how Energy has played for the squad. It's kind of just a question for FlyQuest of who exactly is going to be coming out. It's still figuring out like what's going to be coming out. I mean, we have Gaskin like step back from this roster. So I do think it's something interesting for the squad overall of, okay, we haven't seen them play in a while. And also, what exactly is the starting lineup going to be consistently for them, especially with all these meta changes?
Last time I was on the show and Energy was Uber, I couldn't shut up about his Hella. The man was dominant, and when he popped off with her, everyone finally recognized it. But is Hella still a meta right now? Will we see the powerful hit scan character in action?
I mean, yes, there are a lot of teams, especially even like back to last week, we're still targeting her. The problem is now we're like got these very like brawly in your face cap comps, and Hella, if she gets some of those mobility cooldowns forced out pretty early, it becomes pretty uncomfortable for her. But if you are going to see Human Torch prioritized, you're going to see teams look to try and avoid having to play against Hella because she has basically no damage fall off. She's still devastating against those flyers if she's not respected.
Okay, we're going to take a look now at FlyQuest opposition. They go by the name of Luminosity, and their roster was leaked on Wikipedia. Here it is. We got Brady, March, Alfie, Arso, Paradoxed, and Valentina Eve. How we feeling about this lineup of Vast as one of our powerful NA ranked members?
I mean, honestly, what's interesting about this lineup too is that Valentina Eve, she's on loan, or at least I don't know if she's full-time or on loan from Solaris, we're playing with them. So it's going to be kind of interesting about what this roster has seen in general, because we haven't seen LGNA really at all. Everyone knows about the EU branch. For me personally, I just haven't seen a ton of footage about them. I know about many of these players, high-ranked players have been, in the Scrimverse for a long time, the SCU, the Scrim Cinematic Universe, but I do think this is something that, for us personally on Fight Night, also just when we look at MRC, MRI, there hasn't been a lot of tape from them, so it's kind of more of a debut action for this roster.
How many bread puns do you think we're going to hear tonight, chat? Uber is just foaming at the mouth looking at this roster.
I mean, I reckon I can work with it for sure. But
especially Arso. Arso is going to get used more than Brady. True or false?
True.
Yeast. You can come up with a Yeast 5? A Yeast 5 or 6, perhaps?
I mean, listen, let me cook for you. Let me bake a little bit for you. But again, like this team have been appearing in tournaments as early as like the start of the year under different names. So they're definitely, in the past they would look like as a bit of a mixed team. Team didn't really find a home, but they've definitely started to make a name for themselves. And that's what we do. We come in and we go, okay, let's pit these guys up against the best and see what they can do. I haven't seen any notable results from this team just yet. I would say this will be one of their toughest matchups to date.
Under new flag, Luminosity NA looking to pull off an upset. If they do it, well, they'll be moving on to play our grand finals. That'll be the Sentinels waiting for them there. Avast, I missed last week. I was watching Call of Duty down in Boca Raton. Sentinels, how close are they to the rest of the competition, or are they head and shoulders above the rest?
I mean, right now they looked really, in the last match that we saw them, they looked really, really good. Coming up against Shikigami, who, you know, won kind of unexpectedly. It was like, oh wow, Shikigami definitely a powerhouse. But they look right now in this current meta to be a little bit above in terms of the flexibility of what they can bring to the table, which is something Sentinels always had as a roster of like, oh, we're going to play a lot of different compositions. But also they were really quick to adapt and to utilize some of this Human Torch, some of this Captain America gameplay, something that's just really been kind of truncated a bit, not quite as used currently, because so many teams are still trying to figure out how do we not use Bucky and Hela all the time. And so I do think that Sentinels has kind of had that emergence for them in terms of just like, let's play a very different style and also still have a lot of our old threats of flexibility, like triple Vanguard, triple strategist even in that bank still.
Uber, our teams are still looking for answers as they constantly have to evolve the meta. We have some updates coming in with today's gameplay, so this is fresh. A little bit different from what you saw last week. What are the big ones here? The reduction of base health 650 to 600. Captain still seems to be surviving quite a bit. Groot reduced the health of the Ironwood Wall from 7 to 600. We didn't really get a chance because Virtus Pro bans them out all the time. What do you like here? What are you disliking, if anything, Uber?
Yeah, look, I think that Groot is still the best ground tank. It's a pretty minimal reduction on Ironwood Wall. Remember, you as Groot can always sort of recall that and redeploy it at a later time. It just gives it a little bit less staying power in the fight. But Groot still has a ton of resources to control that space effectively and get a lot of value off those walls. I think it's interesting, like, you know, Spider-Man also getting a bit of a look here just to, you know, prevent the radius of that amazing combo. And Captain America gets a look, but as we just saw, this reduction in base health, very slight as it is, doesn't really do much to diminish the effect of Captain America, or his impact at least, because Freedom Charge is so important in that, you know, it hands that overshield out. It feels like almost a pseudo strategist ultimate on top of the potential knockup. So I do think that Cap is going to be prioritized. To this date, we've definitely seen him looked at more in EU than in NA. But last week, of course, we had a Sentinels team that felt like they were happy to go without him. We'll see if that's different today with FlyQuest and LG getting into the mix.
All right, I have no idea what this means. Tainted Voltage ability to have 2 charge levels. I'm not a Winter Soldier main. He's already insta-locked in my game. So Avast, what can the fans expect to see when Winter Soldier's in action?
He's got 2 Orbeez. He's got 2 Orbeez now. Everyone just be aware he's got 2 Orbeez. Essentially, it's kind of like how, you know, the charges you might see on, like, let's say, the Adam Warlock, the live stream, right? His main heal. It's just he has multiple charges now for Tainted Voltage. And the cool part for that, and maybe the uncool part, depending on who you ask,
okay,
is that now you get, remember, you've always got bonus health from his abilities. So now he gets 2 instances of bonus health, but essentially a free 100 bonus health now from popping both those abilities at the same time.
Also, it reloads roster turn. So it's another way, like, remember, your abilities reload your weapon. So it's just yet another way to keep 3 shots in the chamber so you can sort of keep going to Pound Town.
Now, Mantis still is winless here on Rivals Fight Night through 8 weeks of competition, by the way. However, she was used to boost the damage of the Widowmaker. And sorry, we saw the Black Widow making her presence felt on the path. Do we see more Mantis from the NA players, have asked?
It's possible because Res Comp is stronger than ever, because on top of that, we see the Adam Warlock change above it, which is like, now when you land critical hits with his left click, it is reducing the cooldown of his live stream, which is his main heal, his AoE heal ability here.
Huge.
So realistically, when you consider the team ups that are still available, Star-Lord, even with the nerfs that have come out, triple strategists, or at least res comps, are still very, very strong right now. So if anything, Mantis probably just slots into that just because she's very synergistic when you consider the team ups, when you consider now also some of the extra buffs that she's getting, because she does do a lot of damage currently with the damage buff.
Captain America is in action. We saw him quite a bit in our first round. That was all from Europe, though. It's time to find out which one of these players will be put into the field by North America. Luminosity, a brand new roster. This is Luminosity NA chat. Yes, shout out to everyone who just got here. And on the other side, it's the FlyQuest you know and you love. You've seen him on here in the past. Energy, he's going to pop off with the hell when you let him. Hell's Heaven, good map for her, occasionally. Avast, it's time to get into our bans and protects. Do either of these teams have an auto ban? Like when we look at Virtus Pro, we know Groot is just never gonna be in the match.
It's kind of tough because right now for this is a completely different meta. We haven't seen FlyQuest play in a long time. We don't have a lot of actual like big game tape from LG North America either. So I mean, for FlyQuest, if anything, you're going to be expecting something to try to maybe force these Captain America compositions. Is what we hear is like that's something they love to play. They love to play looted mobile. So maybe get rid of stuff of like, okay, let's get rid of the anti-die capabilities. Let's remove. I mean, LG NA has already removed. I mean, they've already removed looted snow. So and FlyQuest has banned Captain America, which is something that I heard they like to play. So kind of interesting off the bat.
So Groot is in, Virtus Pro is not. So Groot's in, Cap is out, and Luna Snow on the other side is gone, while Emma is going to be locked in. So we've got 2 Vanguards protected, 1 strategist denied by Luminosity, and for the second one, it's going to be a duelist Psylocke off the table.
So here we have like a pretty like atrocious kind of frontline look with Groot and Emma Frost in the game. Obviously, Emma's very good at still punishing tanks, even if they are playing behind shields or out of her line of sight or playing at a safe distance away from her sort of M1. So we've seen that last week, especially combined with Magneto. Sometimes that Emma Frost Magneto frontline. Meteor is still extremely important, even without Luna Snow in the game. Finding that burst damage is going to be really, really important. And in the past, FlyQuest have shown that they will try and play these dive comps. And the big problem for them last time in Rivals Fight Night is that they were running into these really effective Namor-based comps that were really shutting down their dive a lot of the time. Now that's gets a little bit harder to do, even though Namor, still has a very powerful team up, still can be good to go for. There are a lot of other things you can bring in, but the advent of the Flyers now, it's a Human Torch being protected by Luminosity. You've also got to start thinking about whether you involve some hit scan pressure.
Is Hela coming in? You have no Cap. We've got no Iron Fist. You've got no Psylocke. I feel like Torch is kind of the threat right now, but you're the counter to Torch, yeah?
I think it depends on how reliant both these squads are going to be on the Torch, right? Like, is Torch actually going to be something they're trying to push? Is this something that they'd rather just kind of like throw out there to like keep it on the table, prevent some other bans? I do think that like Hela is obviously a very good pick in
Energy MVP,
something that you can play, but it kind of just depends, because I look at the Groot and I'm like, well, this definitely feels like, especially if you're not going to, you're probably going to be seeing like Emma Frost, you're probably going to be seeing Groot for both squads, and potentially maybe even a Doctor Strange for some of the buffs. But I do think that like this is going to be, like Uber said, kind of a slower paced game, especially with like Storm out of the pick, Psylocke out of there, Captain America out of there. So maybe Hela does actually see an appearance.
I am with you, Centurion K. Harn. Groot gameplay, we love trees. Light it up, everybody. We got Hell's Heaven coming your way for game number 1. It's a best of 5. Winner of this best of 5 is moving on to play Sentinels for this week 8. $1,000. North America begins on the mic. We got Uber and Avast.
Yeah, let's draw back on the curtain on what FlyQuest have been working on over the last couple of weeks after a pretty disappointing bow out of the MRC. They're coming in here already considering a Human Torch, as it was protected. Luminosity definitely want to try and keep that into the game, but we know Hela's open. Both teams are likely to try and pick that if there are Human Torches to consider, and Groot haven't been protected, means that it's a pretty easy option. Hell's Heaven's going to start us off here, folks. Let's waste no time getting into the action. We're on board here with FlyQuest, who'll come out with the Groot Magneto frontline and then get a Wolverine in the mix.
Yeah, I think FlyQuest making kind of an alternate decision here compared to LG, because you look at LG and A and they're like, okay, we're going to have the Hela, we have a little bit more poke, we have some options to deny the Human Torch, but with energy on the Wolverine, you can play a bit more broadly. You can play some of that isolation style. You're just going to hope that Audios can live, can get value without getting taken out.
Spark Chief here will look to control that space, of course. Emma Frost here for Luminosity. Decent amount of shielding, but it's going to be tough to break through these barriers. She does obviously get stronger over time as she's hitting those shields, so they do expect it to be mostly at about 100 charge, but still Luminosity need to find a way to get through this initial number of walls here that Spark Chief and, of course, Magneto can deploy. Aso is the one who's mostly just dealing with this frontline fight. And there we go, Wolverine going over the top there. Energy trying to get an assassination. It's Alfie getting dragged out.
That's a very, very big isolation. It's exactly what FlyQuest wanted there, right? We played the long game because LG a little afraid to contest the point super aggressively when the Wolverine is very healthy. They haven't popped that passive, the regenerative healing factor. So now, FlyQuest, they find the isolation. They use that early jetpack that comes on out just for energy up in the air, way up in the air. And now LG looking to recontest here, some ults building up for the squad. And really now it's just, can they find an opening pick? Can they find an opening at all? Which is always the question here when you walk into these fights where most squads have ults.
Here's Brady looking for an opening. Supernova has been developed. Sees energy off to the left and can't do a whole lot to really interact with them right now. Nice little shield thrown up there very quickly by Zelos. And here's the Supernova being thrown down. Brady trying to put some pressure. Vest getting close to a Meteor M though. Arso's taking a beating in the front line now as the invisible boundary comes down. And the Emma Frost is lucky to get out alive. It's a mess there, folks, but Brady's not being looked at right now and just going to satisfy himself, clearing out some of these low-key clones, eventually dives down, gets rid of Adios. That's the first pick here for Luminosity NA, but there's a Meteor M to go with. March of the Goddess of Death sees Cooper-tastic playing back behind that pillar, but they get a lot of healing off that invisible boundary. Another one for Bread, though, crucially. Cooper-tastic brought down. Will it be enough, though? Surely this Human Torch sequence gives Luminosity a chance to get in.
Yeah, that's definitely going to do it there, but they had to invest a lot. I mean, so did FlyQuest, to be fair, but for them, that's just bread, right? Like, it's all just extra time off the bank here. I mean, they were getting a longer test here from Energy, who made it come back in, still has a regenerative healing factor, still has that health. So 78% here for FlyQuest. And a lot of that, you have to just look towards the Human Torch play for LG, because they had the better Supernova where they contested the point, they forced out a lot of cooldowns, and they were also able to make sure to remove Adios, remove some of the backline post-Groot ult, which is so important there. But now LG, they have the task of, okay, we have to hold for a long time. FlyQuest, they know their win condition. They have a lot of opportunities here to just remove ults from LG.
Creme Fresh in the chat wants everyone to know Adios is very handsome and very platonic. Let's go, Adios.
Yeah,
okay,
you know what?
Great to know.
I appreciate
platonic?
That. What is platonic?
Platonic?
I mean, they are platonic themselves, like Plato-esque. You're not describing a relationship, you're describing a person, so I'm not really sure what to make of that one. Either way, nice pick there for March. Adios taken out of the fight. That's the hella diff. Something that FlyQuest are opting to bring here, with Energy being the one that is the difference, I guess, to the Human Torch. So first pick, good one here for March. FlyQuest here, back to business.
Gonna be making this rotation on towards the high ground here, hoping to get some poke out. Cooper-tastic is sending out those, not quite the magic missiles, but the mystical missiles is now trying to find one with the Wolverine leap, trying to lock them in. Can they found them?
We're gonna have our Predator's ultimates now being drawn out. Goddess of Death, I'm hearing it being popped here. Also, Psionic Seduction has to be respected by Vez. They can screen up, they can back away, and they can avoid being drawn in. But Brady, not nearly as lucky. Adios having to deal with them now in the Human Torch battle, and that means that they are uncontested above this fight. It should put FlyQuest back in the game, and crucially, Avast, do so without them having to spend more than an invisible boundary. But they've got to be quick about it. Nice strangling prison catches onto 3 here, more damage required. Energy thought he had to pick on Alfie, but March was waiting.
Does remove those players, though, from the ult and from the point, allowing the cap to go out for FlyQuest. So now they can fight here, knowing there's not going to be a strategy ult just yet for LG and A. So maybe Spark Chief can go early, try to set up the strangling prison as Mitch trying to find one, or March.
There it is. Strangling Prison comes in. Spaghetti and Meatballs combo here for FlyQuest. Can they make it work? Nobody dropping to that very powerful ultimate combo. Alfie eventually goes down. March having to play around the outside of this supernova that is in effect right now for Adios. For FlyQuest have been forced off of the point. They get to 99, but Luminosity now get their time in the sun. No pun intended. As Brady building up another supernova. A lot of those ultimates are missing from FlyQuest's arsenal, and Spark Chief is forced to switch over to the Strange.
However, Dreadhead goes down, so they're not going to be any Human Torch there for LG. That's a lot of damage off the field, and now FlyQuest, they can try to make the most of it. Just play these off angles, use their superior damage, as they are going to have the boundary, the visible boundary up here for Zelos.
The first pick, Energy switched over to the Hela, instantly took Brady out of the game. Here comes Spark Chief now, able to bully his way forward. Alfie, nothing to do, and no chance to respawn with a portal available. FlyQuest could put under a lot of pressure here. And here comes Brady. Nice and healthy. Supernova popped now. Turning to the point is Vest, but where's the healing for them? They're brought down. Spark Chief now needs to try and find a way into this fight. Not so healthy. Knocked back by the force physics now. And Luminosity have pole position on this point. This would be a crashing way for the round to end for FlyQuest. Spark Chief trying to keep them alive and getting plenty of healing right now. Sees that Emma Frost in the front line and needs to respect, of course, the fire field being deployed there by Brady. Invisible boundary. Both sides get it off. Cooper-tastic with a copied ultimate now might be under some pressure themselves. And there it is. Luminosity NA outlast FlyQuest.
And a really heads-up swap there to the Hela for FlyQuest. But even off the pick, the problem is they chase deep. The recontest happens for LG making the swap to Venom. And they just find those counter picks. And I think that's one of those issues, like, okay, you go a little too aggressive there. It was a relatively ult-neutral fight until some of the ults started to come up there for FlyQuest and LG later. So definitely just a little over-ambitious, and unfortunately just, I think it all goes back to March going off the angle very early on in the fight and forcing out the Strangling Prison in a position where you didn't want to come out. And that's one of the benefits of having the Hela, right? In the Hela versus Wolverine matchup is that Hela can really exploit those off angles in a way that's a little bit harder for Wolverine to do because he is a little bit more reliant on the synergy, on the utility to make sure he gets value.
Ready here at 12-2. Many of those final hits, I think, actually are against the enemy Human Torch. Adios being looked at a lot more by Brady there just to make sure there's aerial supremacy achieved by Luminosity. I mean, not much has changed about the game with these patches in terms of these fights really being a war of attrition. And even though Luna Snow was banned out, you still get that invisible woman combo. Force physics is really important as proximity is the name of the game. That's why Wolverine was involved in FlyQuest's previous comp, but Energy will stay on the Hela.
See You hear some of this poke coming out early there from Adios, who does have the Supernova, but they have to be worried right now about the Sonic Seduction. Just trying to play around these angles, try to save some walls up, knowing that they don't have a strategy just available. Instead, look like they want to open with a Supernova.
There's the Seduction that comes out. Nice Ironwood wall there, thrown up by Spark Chief. Is able to protect most of FlyQuest from the Seduction, but Spark Chief himself does get drawn forward here. Getting a little bit ugly in the front line there for Arso. They go low, and they won't be allowed to walk away. Adios draws a bead on the enemy MSO and removes it from the fight. A very quick Galactic Legend developed here by March. An invisible boundary will be deployed now to force the Star-Lord out of it. Still Luminosity. Star with early control. Strangling Prison, though, is thrown into the fight. There was a copy there of Invisible Women by the looks of things. Cooper tried to copy, did at least get that boundary off. FlyQuest trying to work through this now, but no one's really doing much about Brady. They are chilling amidst their own fire tornadoes.
However, Spark Chief going to find that pick, but definitely not enough there. The isolation not enough. And LG and A, I mean, they're just doing such a good job here of just countering those ults on the contest that happens there for FlyQuest. Sure, they're able to get to the backline. They're able to find those strategists there with the Strangling Prison, but they just can't finish off the other picks fast enough. They can't deal with the trade, that backline rush. As now FlyQuest come out in. And remember, for those that might be confused, 6 feet Dreadhead, that would be Brady on LG and A. That's who Uber is referring to. You might be saying like, wow, I don't know. Where's this Brady character? That would be 6 feet Dreadhead. That would be them if you're a little confused.
Yeah, definitely had me in the first half, not gonna lie, but obviously so far you'd recognize their play anywhere. They've looked dominant in this Human Torch matchup, and slowly FlyQuest just peeked themselves out onto the point after a long hibernation. They need to get back in this fight. Invisible boundary at the ready here for Luminosity. FlyQuest used both of theirs in the previous fight, and Energy just nuked so early. They switched off the Hela. Hoped the Wolverine would be the difference maker for them, but FlyQuest looking still pretty uncomfortable. Also stunned up briefly there. Spark Chief, though, going very, very low and desperately. Zealous is trying to keep the Groot in the game. They're trying to dance the contact lens, get the healing that they need, and Alfie ultimately gets brought down. Now there's a Strangling Prison, and it's just as well because FlyQuest need to make a play, and they need it right about now.
They need to walk forward right now with Cooper Task's ult. They find that pick off the Force Physics. They're going to come on forward, find another one. Arso going down as FlyQuest looking like they're going to maintain control. And not only going to get control, it's going to be a late, very, very late stagger here onto Paradoxical. Or Paradox, I should say, not Paradoxical.
Was there a supernova there from Brady? Looks like
there was a supernova used, but they were able to walk through it with Cooper Task's copy there for the God of Mischief. So they tried to catch him on the choke post pick after the Force Physics onto Alfie, but it just didn't get a lot of value. There's a walk on through it.
Yeah, that one is gonna have to be built up again for the next fight. There it is, Strangling Prison, big one thrown up. Thorn Lashwall's getting in there, but Spark Chief takes a bit more damage than he otherwise would have expected. Here's a Psionic Seduction, drawing all of FlyQuest forward into the Supernovas, though. They've laid down to try and have a strong fight in these close quarters, and still that damage for Adios isn't going to be enough. Galactic Legend means that Human Torch is such an easy target for March to bring down. Beautiful stuff there with the Star-Lord, and Luminosity are looking the dominant roster.
And another really good Force Physics, that time for Valentina. So important here to see the Invisible Woman matchup. See the value of that displacement is now FlyQuest. They're going to be looking for the contest. They're using the portal, trying to block some damage. Walk on in. They need to find something.
Invisible boundary comes on down. Spark Chief trying to corral these aggressive Luminosity players in the front line. Duck through the TP, then back into the fray after a brief heal. Now that Invisible Woman ultimate is down, but Spark Chief needs help. The healing's coming in desperately. It might not be quick enough. Zealous is building towards a boundary of their own, but March is going to work on them again. It's Adios down. Energy has a final stand here. Is there a decent way to make use of it? No, go for the Groot. Don't quite connect the charge. Arso, though, does get dragged down finally in the front line. That regenerative domain a little bit too late to protect against this Wolverine's foray in. So it's a 5v5. Spark Chief going to return to the fight here on the Venom, apparently. And Energy is just trying to find as much chunk damage as they can. But that was beautiful done. Nice Human Torch play to clear off the rest of FlyQuest, and LG&A. They've been cooking off on the sidelines.
And definitely just seeing some of the downsides as well, like the Wolverine comparatively, because you're just so reliant on trying to find the isolation while Human Torch, while the Hela is just pumping damage at you, right? And so you need to find more there. And it was a recontest situation, so they did the best they could, but really would have loved to get more with that last stand. As LG looking really, really good here for their debut match on Fight Night.
Look at Brady. I mean, 10 final hits, 31k damage, only 4 deaths over the entire course of the game. And Energy walked out in that second round on the Hela, but there wasn't a great opportunity to get good sightlines. It was a bit of an unlucky roll, I guess, for FlyQuest. We were on a map that basically, if you get forced off the point, you don't have good hit scan sightlines at all, and it's too risky to try and flank. And then I thought the Star-Lord to answer the Human Torch is great. Ordinarily, it doesn't do anything about Human Torch. But when Galactic Legend's active, it's very easy to nuke the Human Torch down, and he doesn't really have anywhere to go. He can dive to the low ground and try and get behind something, but once he's locked on, it's very, very difficult. A great game from March there as well. Obviously not with the same level of output, but 6 final hits, nothing to sneer at.
March is a god. I've decided. Started on the Hela, ends the game in the sky. Player to watch, player to nullify with your bans and protects of Vast. We've seen people try and go at Sparker. He had too many heroes in his hero pool. I don't know what to expect moving forward.
It's interesting because like we expected FlyQuest to be a little bit more divey. Hearing some of the stuff that's coming out, and so they roll out playing a little bit of a slower, more stationary composition. There is obviously a lot of movement still, so maybe now this could have been a scouting angle, could have been something like, let's try to play this because we're comfortable on this particular map, and we adjust as the series goes on. I do think that if you let LG continue to play that style, have the Emma Frost frontline with the Groot, have multiple players that can play a little bit back, can be poking, it seems like LG seems a little bit more comfortable on that angle there, in a more traditional, like very strong frontline duelists sort of running around through the sky, getting picks, exploiting the flanks.
Bread dropping 31,000 damage is going to lead the lobby by about 9k. Ridiculous performance from the duelist. If you're looking at the Vanguards, who caught your eye early on? I know it was a lot of action in the sky, Uber.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought also it was a great finaliner here for Luminosity NA. And Spark Chief is always going to be a goated group. So I'm always expecting there to be great gameplay. I've got to say though, the Wolverine for me it isn't it. I don't think it's what you're looking for. Wolverine obviously very powerful, but against the Emma Frost, he's a little susceptible to that crowd control that she can apply if she manages to hit him front on. And I don't know, like you're constantly taking damage from that Human Torch if you're trying to get out onto the battlefield. Energy only ends with about 10k damage, so we're not looking for big damage from Wolverine, right? We are obviously looking for those final hits, those pickoffs, but even those were few and far between.
I just see so much fire, so much legendary. I honestly hope we see the next round go back to the ground here. Looking forward.
You want a boots on the ground game, Puckett?
To be a strategist, survival would be more fun maybe for game number 2. I feel like they're getting picked on. Avast, we got out of the chaos. Now you're FlyQuest, though. You thought you had this game in your hands. You were up big in that opening round before it all starts to go negative. Where do you take us? Do we go to Convergence? Do we play another domination? This just wasn't our map. What's the thought?
I mean, right now, it's still kind of me figuring out what FlyQuest is going to play too, because I heard something like, oh, this is a team, they're only going to play, they play so much Captain America, they love Captain America. And now, maybe that's not necessarily true. So, honestly, I'm not quite certain what either one of these teams are preferring off the just that one map. So I can't really say a definitive, let's play a different map pick, but maybe don't play Domination this time, because it feels like those fast pace, especially if you're going to try to play the Wolverine, play that Magneto frontline too, because that's something we talked about a bit with Arso on the Emma Frost, is that Emma Frost puts a lot of pressure too onto the frontline with the amount of damage she does. On top of the CC ability that you can bring into the Wolverine, you need to play a Magneto if you want to enable the Wolverine, right? You want to have the bulwarks available. So you're missing out on some of the value you get from Emma Frost being super aggressive, getting the Sonic seductions, right? So I do think that for FlyQuest in general, you either need to attune that strategy a bit more, or maybe just go back to something more traditional, maybe even mirror the Emma Frost, or maybe pull out this Captain America that I heard so much about and play some more just dive-centric angles.
We just passed 1,200 viewers right now on our Twitch channel. We have co-streams galore. We're also live on Twitter and YouTube. If you're just finding us here at Rivals Fight Night, this is week 8. You're in the second half of the show. We already did EU. Finzi is saying March is the player to watch moving forward. Keep your eyes on the new face for Luminosity. Bread, though, dropping some huge damage. And if you're looking for the best PR team, I don't know if this is organized or not, but Adios has everybody cheering for him. And it could have stemmed from the fact that he pulled out a Jeff and whooped up on 100 Thieves with it. Or it could just be the fact that he got all of his mods from his stream in our channel to gas him up. But Uber, I am impressed what Luminosity is putting together here.
Yeah, look, I definitely think March is a player to watch. I think that Breddy's scoreline has a lot to do with being the Human Torch not against the Hela in that first round. I think that's a pretty big difference maker. And also, I think when it came to the head-to-head where they had to fight Adios, they did an excellent job. You can't leave them uncontested, these Human Torches, if you can help it. And you will notice that FlyQuest banned Storm in the previous game, so they might have been scared about dealing with a double flyer comp and didn't feel like they had a elegant way to deal with it, which is concerning.
Well, the ult is like 11 seconds of just fire. It's just devastating to deal with. So I would insta-ban that as well if it was still in the cards.
Very good.
The cap band was what caught us off guard because Avast and I were sharing the same homework and it said that they play captain, but this is back-to-back games that they're like, this character sucks. We do not want to have to deal with his survivability.
A captain the ship, and LG also clearly targeting this Luna Snow repeatedly, which means that not only removing Luna Snow, but you're also removing that team up, right, for the Iron Fist, who's seen a lot more play recently. So it, removes some of the value there for the Iron Fist there for LG to play against, to play into. So far, nothing too different across the board. Another protect on the Human Torch, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, clearly the chat loves Adios, so Adios, we got to put him back on the Human Torch.
Yeah, shout out to Nacho, Adios's platonic uncle. Apparently,
I would hope is platonic.
What is the non-platonic uncle, out of curiosity?
We're gonna go ahead and take a look at our bans and protects while we keep our jobs, and you can see the Groot is going to be saved on the other side. Luminosity is going to keep the Fireboy and Johnny, and Psylocke once again is going to be sent the second ban. What do they do on the other side? It's a second Iron Fist removed. Seems like maybe they ran into something in scrims that they just don't want to deal with.
Business as usual. Business as usual across the board. I mean, this is the same bans that we've seen for the previous map. I mean, nothing has really changed. If they protect Emma Frost again, it implies that LG probably just gonna play the exact same comp or pretty similar. So really, okay, so FlyQuest now, they've protected the Hela though. So they definitely potentially want to play some more Hela into this flyer composition.
I don't think Hell's Heavens is the best. Yeah, Spider-Man. Light wasn't in that game. Light might be riding the pine for a little bit. We don't really know. I mean, you didn't sort of tweet anything about that. So, well, because he was the captain, if I'm not, or is the captain. So interesting to see that happen. But okay, so Hulk taken off here. So no Cap, no Hulk. None of those shenanigans here. Last band here. I mean, there's a couple of options. I think we'll see if like FlyQuest have any plans of still trying to play the Wolverine here with the Hela Protect.
They might just ban the Storm again, like you pointed out before, like remove the double flyer. They protected the Hela here, so I feel like it could just be another angle like that. Clearly a anti-flyer. Oh, it's a Star-Lord, so it still is a flyer.
Yeah, you don't want the auto aim. I get that.
How many bans are there?
No more.
Good.
Okay.
Goodness.
No Hulk to deal with as well. I don't really understand the threat of the Hulk unless it's just to make sure Namor doesn't get in the game. Avast, is Hulk that devastating? What's the deal here? Because he's been banned not only by NA but also EU all night.
He's pretty good. I mean, he did receive some buffs as well, and on top of that, like you said, like there's the Namor team up since he no longer has that Luna Snow team up. So I do think Hulk is. I mean, Hulk's always been a threat. To be fair, like Hulk's been kind of like a perma-brand, like not often like picked or protected hero very often now, even despite new metas, old metas. So I do think that Hulk is kind of just, people don't enjoy playing against Hulk sometimes just because of the exiles, because you get those like AoE shields. He's so survivable. He has obviously typically very strong team up. So I do think sometimes people just don't want to play against Hulk, especially if you're playing into a very dive centric meta, which this is the possibility to be. Hulk just makes it all the worse.
Yeah. I mean,
show me your chef, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to the path on the mic. We have Uber. We have Avast. Game 2. FlyQuest turn.
Yggdrasill path. What does FlyQuest have here? I mean, it looks like Luminosity have obviously a bunch of different options. We have energy back on the Hela, though, crucially. Adios will be on the Human Torch, so have a flyer with the Hela in the mix. So this is an interesting scenario. Now, you really start looking at these duelist matchups across the table a lot closer. Which Hela can control the opposing Human Torch and give their team that aerial superiority?
And, Path of Yggdrasill has always been, like, one of the Hela maps, so it makes sense. You have really long sight lines, you have really big flanks. I also like they put Vest over here onto the Emma Frost here to just try to keep a little bit more pressure on the front line now. And Emma Frost just in general so strong, having the Sonic Seduction, it's just another threat to keep strategist ults kind of in check, where they have to, like, hold those instead of using them proactively.
You're also incentivized to clear the group walls as Emma Frost here because it just gives you that ramping damage, which becomes really quite relevant at some point. So no reason not to clear through this stuff. Also getting battered a little bit in the front line here. Oh, Spark Chief down. Spotted out by Luminosity. They found an opening. Energy, though, at least actually finds a really important target. The Invisible Woman's taken out of the game, but we already have a God of Mischief here being made use of. We'll see what the switch is going to be for that as Alfie looks to back away. Again, Brady takes his opposite number down. So it's a Human Torch diff right now for Luminosity. But they must have had to dive down in order to do that because it's a kill lead for Emma Frost on the shift.
I mean, they're still trying to chase here, but it's very tough to chase, and it's also risky because you don't have the walls to make sure that you're not going to get caught, or if you get hooked in, there's just not going to be a lot of options to protect you. As now Spark Chief made their way on back, as the poking's going to continue. The poking will continue until morale improves. And I imagine we're just going to be waiting to see for another pick, wait for maybe 6 ults to come on board here, because this is kind of how the first point of Path of Yggdrasill goes.
Yeah, Supernova though, this could be pretty scary. Pretty might look to make use of that. Now sees that regeneration domain being used, and it's time to throw some fire tornadoes into the game. Trailing Prison comes down onto LG. Can they stave it up? Absolutely not. Adios has the combo. Nicely done for FlyQuest. This is going to hold the attackers at bay, and Arso realizes there's just not a whole lot more to do here. Gonna stick around, maybe hope to try and pick up energy here. Another of the duelists, but an Astron Crow will get them away. FlyQuest, a very important hold.
And that's a great fight too for FlyQuest there, because you look at this, they're gonna have 3 ults. LG committed a lot for that fight, especially because of the strength presence that comes out late from Spark Chief. Already after the invisible boundaries kind of just faded a bit there. So now LG gonna have to recontest, hope for picks, build up the ult bank again, and by the time they're gonna build up these ults in this fight, it's gonna be like a last fight situation. I mean, 1.5 minutes on the bank here, Mitch. So realistically, LG just playing to maybe get the pick, hopefully build up their economy without losing too many more fights.
Look at the healing resources being stretched so thin though for the defenders. Brady thinks there's an opportunity to go in here. He wasn't quite correct though. Gonna make use of that team up for that extra over shield. And here's the Goddess of Death coming out. Spark Chief surges forward. Found March. The Hela is now gone for Luminosity, which means also no easy ways to get Paradox back into the game either. Following it up with a Human Torch pick, and there it is finally. Starting to see what FlyQuest are capable of. The Hela gameplay has been sublime.
Only 60 seconds left.
Yeah, as an Adios, obviously, I mean, I understand the glaze. Adios looking great here on the map too. Following up, the Supernovas are on point, combined with their team, continuing to just make sure they're not go down either to need a Hela poke. So LG, this is last fight. This is last fight for them here. They have to win to not get first held. About 40 seconds on the clock. They're going to have some ults coming up soon, and they already have 1 in the bank. But FlyQuest, I mean, this is a very strong bank. So for LG, the pressure's on here just to make sure they can keep the tempo up, because FlyQuest, they could choose to go aggressively right now, knowing they have the advantage.
Spark Chief barely stays alive. Okay, that's a Rejuve domain forced out of FlyQuest here, with Spark Chief just running low on health. And once again, Brady sees an opportunity, but gets caught inside with Strangling Prison. But the healing's going to be there. Team up helps Dreadhead stay alive, and Invisible Boundary comes down to further protect Luminosity. But they've burned so many key ultimates now. It's time for FlyQuest to send some of their own back. Zelos and Cooper both can layer those Invisible Woman ultimates, and March got brought down by Adios, who seemed very, very good in these large-scale team fights. Luminosity, though, finally get the Groot. Spark Chief was the Franz Ferdinand of this fight, honestly. They kind of started it all off. They are now out of the mix. 5 up for FlyQuest. The support ultimates are gone. There's no strategist healing at their disposal, but the attackers have also lost their Groot. Mere seconds away here, and looks like Luminosity are in position to extend the map.
Wow, Franz Ferdinand is, that's a crazy one. The Franz Ferdinand there, the fight. I mean, he might be, I mean, would you argue that it was also a bunch of mixture of dumb luck there, potentially, and coincidence? But, I mean, I guess, you know, that's the randomness of games sometimes, and I do think that overall, LG make it work, even after losing March early, too, which is really big, because that's a ton of damage off the field. So definitely get what they need. I like the fight. They don't get held there on first. 2 minutes on the bank. FlyQuest going to be looking to fight here on the corner. The titular corner, the pivotal corner. We love the corner so much as everyone comes back in. It's going to play the angles right now.
Yeah, no need to expose himself to Energy's sightlines at the moment, as much of that high ground already being taken down. Alfie, though, can't hold up against the scrutiny of the Hela, apparently. Adios. Winning that Human Torch duel. Also getting knocked around. There was no chance they'd be allowed to escape. Vest gets it done with a good old Diamond Fist. And March here. Like to bait an overextension of some description. And ultimately, Energy getting caught out. That is some sharp shooting.
That is a really good Guardian shield there as well from Valentina. So now LG get to walk back in. They're going to be sending March to the flank. Just open up here a bit with the poke, knowing there's not going to be Energy there to contest them quite as much. And LG, they need to walk forward. They need to make sure to use this space, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, no way Spark Chief is going to survive there. Fires his natural enemy, and the Supernova plumes were all around him. Here we go, got a mischief here, copy. And that's going to be Cooper going for an invisible boundary now. Once again, Energy strikes. FlyQuest getting max value out of their Hela so far in this game. It almost had them a stop in that first checkpoint. But Luminosity, at least trying to negotiate rather from a position of power, will come barreling around this corner.
This is going to be another pretty tough fight. The strategy ults are going to be pretty strong. for LG. They were gonna have the boundary. They are gonna have, you know, Silence Deduction. There's some threats here. But FlyQuest, yeah, I mean, they're gonna just go early with the Strangling Prison.
Valentina here just trying to stay at a safe distance if they can. Supernova's in play. Adios letting those ones go here. FlyQuest, though, again, have had to fold back off this fight. Draw out some of those abilities. Goddess of Death could be huge. Fez can't stay alive. Couldn't quite find the right angle for their shield. And now March can turn around and draw a deal with energy. Knock them out of that Goddess state. And Luminosity showed us there's still some map to play.
A great tempo there from LG. Consistently, we're seeing, just especially on the duelist side, but the whole team in general, they're making sure, like, okay, we get a win, we get a capitalization here off of just a pick. We're gonna run on in. We're gonna make sure to use the space that our duelists can use there, knowing like, okay, we have the Goddess of Death, we can get extra space off of that, which is, you know, pretty vanilla standard play here, but just making sure to use that aggressively as well, to use all the flanks that are available on that second point there for Path of Yggdrasill. So now, made it to last, not a lot in the bank for either squad, but LG, the tempo's good here, and most importantly, the Strangling Prison, the Supernova, that combo is coming up very soon.
Such a big part of what allowed them to get through that first checkpoint, even if it ended up being a messy fight. Here's the Supernova, Strangling Prison. Apparently, Vest's the only one caught there, and a hasty invisible boundary thrown up to make it harder for Brady to find those kills. In fact, his energy from under the cloak of the invisible woman rips 2 quick eliminations. Now, FlyQuest finally getting back onto the front foot here, re-establish themselves with about 45 seconds to play.
And they had the combo. They did have that really powerful combination there, but the problem there is they just didn't bait any. The cooldowns out earlier. They didn't have any setup. They were just hoping they could burst them through. Pretty just grug brain, I think, in my opinion. Just hoping to just burst through. Just not forcing anything else. Next fight still happening on the choke.
Sparky spends this entire game at 20% health. I'm almost certain of it. Got Force Physics back into the lineup of Luminosity. Almost got taken down. Here's a prison, this time from Luminosity. Supernova combo had to be there, but March falls. Energy dominating on this Hela. Yet another key pick. It's the Loki going down. The Loki with ultimate available. The one that could have bailed LG out. Talk about premium picks. Energy is delivering every single fight.
And I said it before the match even started. I was like, people were like, oh, maybe Light. No, it's energy. Energy. They have been incredible for this team. Some of them you haven't seen a lot of, and I know sometimes there was so much of the spotlight had went to Light in the past in some of the older metas, but I really feel confident in Energy and they're delivering here. And, you know, coming back to the Hela, going onto a Hela map, it just reminds you that Hela still remains, even with some of the nerfs that have come out, Hela just remains the singular, in many ways, like most picky hero still in Marvel Rivals. It just continues to just find picks, open up fights in ways that many other heroes just can't right now in Marvel Rivals.
I mean, so few. She brings like the closest thing to burst damage outside of an ultimate that you could ask for, as well as like no fall off. So it definitely makes it tricky to play these like flyer comps when Hela is protected in the game. Now, you'll notice here, like, you know, Brady has a pretty strong showing. Still 8 final hits. But Energy definitely targeting them there as they end up dying 7 times over the course of that round. Even despite good damage output, good final hits, March only exits the round with 2. This means that Adios is actually really not being pressured that much on this Human Torch.
No, I think they've done a really good job, actually. It's a really good call, too, of pressuring March in general. March had a kind of a rough first 2 points in certain capacity. So I do think that that's something that FlyQuest made sure to put a little bit more emphasis on. I think also that is in part of having this stronger front line now, too. Because, yes, even though Spark Chief may feel like you're looking at him like, oh, he's at 20% HP again, like every time, they're still having a lot more ability to brawl and set up the space there for the duelist for FlyQuest and just make sure they can keep that pressure onto players like March.
We are running it back, folks. FlyQuest now go on the attack side of Yggdrasill Path. They prevent Luminosity from getting through that last phase of the map. So it's a very achievable goal. Coming into the round, Cooper was able to... Oh, okay, maybe not. Looked like Cooper had an ultimate symbol there, but it might already have been expended. Either way, pretty clean slates outside of that then.
And Adios, I mean, we just finished talking about him. I know everyone dropping the rose withered emoji in the chat right now as Adios goes down. But unfortunately for FlyQuest, early pick. But close to spawn, make sure they don't lose anyone else. They can wait. Got plenty of time to bank here. And really for FlyQuest, it's the dance, and any team that's attacking on Path of Yggdrasill, can you open up a flank push here? Because I feel like forcing through this main area every time, it's always tough. You need to be somebody having it on the flank.
Also just trying to trend back a little bit here now. Shield thrown up, make that space. Nice little choke slam on the group. But you got to be careful. You expose yourself to oncoming fire when you make use of that ability. You are locked in animation. Energy healthy and up, but Vest has definitely seen better days. It's going to be Arso falling though in the front line. So Emma Frost battle won by FlyQuest, and they're going to keep coming. Alfie out of the game now. You are tankless as defenders. Dreadhead is still hoping to have impact with his supernovas, but there's not really anything to force FlyQuest to cook amidst them. Might not have been the best use of that ultimate, but was hoping to try and salvage things. Gonna be a close one, but likely a checkpoint to be picked up here. TP has to come in though from Arso. There's still a fight to be had for the defenders.
And will look to be so great there for FlyQuest. Now LG, they make the recontest happen. They have to have some picks here because Sparktree coming on back. There's gonna be Strangling Prison available, but they need to wait out the invisible boundary right now. But they're just losing too many players. They don't have any damage.
Losing Artigos there is absolutely massive. Don't freak out. You don't have an ad open on the other screen. That's just what the Invisible Woman thing does.
Those are just the sound effects on the Invisible Woman. It's okay. It's not the voices in your head. I will say I have to, like, for FlyQuest, they had a perfect opening there of RSO going a little too aggressive. They had to use the regeneration domain a little early to save them, but unfortunately just couldn't convert. Lost too many picks now. So pretty stagnant fight for both these squads. Pretty equal ult bank. As Vest's gonna walk on forward.
Okay, good poke damage. Alfie struggling a little bit here. Vest just wants to get in, and with the Psionic Seduction, you can see why they'd want to go for that. That was disgusting. Perfect Strangling Prison there. Adios jumps in, made use of that Supernova. Simple as it gets for a wombo combo, and a blue Luminosity apart.
And Energy just continuing to find pick after pick there on the Hela. Energy being a huge difference maker, just opening it up. And yeah, the combo is available for FlyQuest, but don't feel as confident to pop that if you don't have that early pick. And they get to hold on to 4 ults going here and here, making this round to the corner again for second. And for LG, they're looking at this next fight being like, okay, maybe we can set up the combo here, that Strangling Prison, the Supernova. But they don't have the strategy up yet. Just not yet, because you have to be really worried. If does FlyQuest go early here? Do they force out a fight before we have some of those strategy ults?
Oh, Adios has to make a quick exit. Oh, but March drew a beat on them. They were absolutely stuck to it. However, trade out. Energy pushing up on the right-hand side when they see the Hela turn their attention elsewhere. Freddy forced to drop down now, but is able to get rid of Cooper-tastic. Supernovas are absolutely churning through FlyQuest at the moment. Great defensive stop. Such an important part of the map. I've asked to be able to bring them to a screeching halt right on this corner.
Yeah, if you can fight them on this corner here, and they're getting the late stagger, Zelos just gonna burn to slowly in the blazing blast. And so that's exactly what you want there for LG, is to hold this corner. There's such a strong piece of geometry in general for this map. And, you know, even with Energy finding the counter pick, really good setup there, March. Getting some of those crucial picks that you need on for your Hela player, who's been, you know, they've been a little quiet so far in this map. So you need March to be a bit louder, to get a little bit more impact here for LG.
We mentioned in the first half, right? Only 2 of those final hits from Luminosity's Hela. Freddy definitely been doing a lot of work, though, making up for the lack of opportunities for March to show what they're capable of. Strangling Prison ready here, though, for Spark Chief. Still a ways off Supernova, but we have a Goddess of Death coming out. March with the later use of that, so they can obviously burst the enemy Hela down, knock her out, and then find that extra damage. Beautiful. Valentina, though, did fall. So Luminosity are missing a key piece here. One that has the only strategist ultimate at their disposal. March just gets caught in the royal of FlyQuest players, and this is a little bit dangerous now. You can see Arso trying to jockey backwards a little bit now, even with that Psionic Seduction. I also want to get over aggressive here. It's almost full retreat. Force physics used to try and pull the Emma Frost out there. Walls being broken down now. And it's about to get messy. Here comes that invisible boundary now, thrown down by Cooper. It's a copied one. Valentina Eve also with that Invisible Woman ultimate in play. Also still holding on to the Seduction.
Oh, and the find there under Cooper-tastic means FlyQuest, they have to back. They could maybe try to come back in here, but I think they're too afraid when they're down 1. And I mean, just, you see those picks, you see that opening pick there for Energy, just kind of opened up again, even off the Gods of Death, finding them in return. And I thought that was going to be it. I was like, okay, you control the chokes, you have the strength of the present, but LG finding a really good find there in a Cooper-tastic late there, who went a little deep post God of Mischief. So now they have to round the corner again into LG.
Into the Strangling Prison and the Supernova combination as well. It's devastating. What a big long-range one. Okay, Dreadhead can't really see what's going on here, but obviously knows where everyone's going to be grouped up. Still a great invisible boundary from Zelos. Saves FlyQuest's bacon. Now, though, it might still get a little bit charred as eventually Vest is just surrounded in a maelstrom of flames. Valentina, she had that final hit. Okay, Brady, a little bit too cocky there. Energy's able to find them with that long-range pressure, but there's another invisible boundary. This time, Valentina has that one at the ready. Just a matter of keeping Alfie topped up and bleed this clock further. We're down to 40 seconds left. Might be a boundary here now. Yeah, the Strangling Prison did come down. Spark Chief falls. Also traded out, though. Energy's able to find it. Elimination. Defenders in a bit of a rough spot now, and Valentina still confident enough, though, to set up here, push back around the corner. It's FlyQuest who are down to 1 more chance.
And these are these fights that FlyQuest should be winning. I mean, they're chasing down limbs. They have the Strangling Prison. They have energy up. I mean, they're getting these late picks, and they just can't finish off these fights in time. LG just survived the strategist from LG doing such a good job to keep everyone up. No one goes down. So now we're in a last fight scenario here, and surely FlyQuest with the bank, I mean, they have the fast contest. They have to have the opportunity, especially with the pick.
That's a big pick. Surely it opens things up for the attackers now. March is down. Sonic Seduction comes in, reduced domain deploy, but oh, that is a devastating seduction in the end. However, Luminosity have a chance to regroup. It's a lack of strategist ults of Asta where there's going to be a big issue for them. Cooper's able to throw down a copy to Visible Boundary now for FlyQuest, and Brady is out of the game. Desperately, Luminosity trying to hold them at bay. Alfie did develop a Strangling Prison, but there's just no chance to make use of it. So, as we always do, we're headed to the last phase of Yggdrasill Path.
Energy can't do more. Energy can't do more. I mean, right now, like, Energy is doing so much for this FlyQuest squad, just continually getting picks over and over and over again. And I really love how LG's playing this. I mean, they're doing a good job of cycling the contest, of backing up from the ults from FlyQuest. FlyQuest, they need to get a bit better here at winning these big ult fights. Right now, it seems to be very individualistic with Energy just getting the opening pick, making a lot happen there, and FlyQuest needs to get better at cleaning up these long fights.
Goddess of Death at the ready for Energy. Standout player for the attackers. Gonna be matched on the other side though, so March often likes to go for the second one and blow up the Hello and then do the damage. Very good looks here though for FlyQuest. What an opener. Aso down on the front line. Adios just able to burn Alfie down as time went on, and March desperately trying to get some advantage back, but FlyQuest coming at them here. Invisible Boundary was pretty important. Finally, a defense-sided elimination. It's Energy. Their reign of terror brought to an end. Brady trying to drop down, add some damage to the mix. FlyQuest looking extremely battered and will likely have to regroup here.
They can't lose anyone right now. They cannot lose anyone right now, and that's exactly what could not happen, because now they don't have a front line. They don't have enough health to stay in this fight. They need to back up, and they have to once again be worried about getting some limbs, because we're in a last fight territory here, Mitch. They are going to have the Strangling Prison. They're not going to have the combo available for that, but for LG, they committed to that fight so heavily to fight on the corner because how close the distance was. There's nothing left in the bank. FlyQuest, this should be their fight.
Yeah. No strategist ultimates at all here for Luminosity. They do have a seduction, but Asa's already taken a beating in that front line. Eyes on Cooper. That's the copy to Invisible Boundary that's going to be critical to trying to end this game. Here's the seduction, though. Immediately, Adios tries to get off that sideline. Has to respect the Emma Frost. Aso can't pull anyone out of position, and Cooper's still holding onto that Invisible Boundary. Sparkcheek, though, low. Able to find two. Nice Strangling Prisoners. Paradox and March go the way of the Dodo. And FlyQuest should have the hitting power to end the game from here. Brady can't do more. Energy able to take them down in mid-air. Hand your attackers. Even up the series. FlyQuest, get the map done.
And FlyQuest, I mean, it looked a little grim there at moments, but overall, off of a solid defense there, they round the corner. LG just a little bit overinvested the fight before, and that's where FlyQuest just pounce, find their opportunity, and that's the benefit of just having a very, very strong defensive hold there. As Audios, you know, getting a little in-game MVP, which I'm sure Twitch chat will be happy about that one, but I do think had a very good performance showing up. But I have to say that Energy kept FlyQuest alive throughout this map, so I mean, you have to be a little worried, because if Energy just doesn't show up for one map, then you're like, ooh, maybe a little risky for FlyQuest to do the rest of the series.
I mean, I'm curious to see how the scoreboard looks here, because definitely felt like it was a very strong Hella performance and a
21
final hits is pretty incredible. 45k damage down for Adios and 48 here for Brady. Those are pretty standard in a long game. Human Torch stats here. I've got to say though, you know, March in the end is not able to match that impact of Energy on the Hella. That's a big part of the issues. That's why Adios only has 5 deaths and Brady has 11.
And I think it's impressive there still for Brady that they're putting up this much damage numbers and putting up, you know, this many final hits while realistically just not receiving the same level of pressure onto his opposing side. And they're just setting up from these combos. So it is well played from Brady, but definitely for a player of the caliber like March, you really want to see more coming out there. You want to see a little bit more, because I do think overall in the macro game, I really liked how LG played holistically. I think FlyQuest was struggling, but FlyQuest just had a lot more hero moments coming out for them.
Look, I mean, look at the ridiculous amount of healing in that game as well. I mean, both teams like 100k healing. That's the world we live in now in Human Torch land, Puckett.
Yeah, I kind of want to just amp up my damage numbers by staying in the sky and throwing fire at the ground. 50k damage, that's all I have to do at Vast. I feel like it's the opposite of Rocket Raccoon.
I mean, kind of. I mean, if anything, like, Are you saying the opposite in terms of like he's doing more damage than healing? Like he's the opposite side of the spectrum of that? Like the DPS
That or
version,
like you
the
can just
duelist
kind of spam things without people really looking at you, and instead of healing, I'm doing damage. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Let's find. That's a good opportunity to put some hate on Human Torch mains and Rocket Raccoon mains at the same time. So we're always down for a hate agenda.
Very efficient.
Light the fire as wide as we can. Shout out to Valentina, Eve, and Paradox. Unfortunately, Coopertastic and Zelos are going to get your strategy win in game number 2, which means we have a game 3. And it's not going to be a 3-0. And that excites me. We could see our first game 5 in 2 weeks, gentlemen.
I mean, I'm stoked for it. It's a new look FlyQuest, right? With, like a vest being picked up for the team. Adios getting to see the light of day on this role. And they look like they bounced back pretty well. I'd say there's still definitely a bunch of stuff to work on. I'd say you definitely need to step up if you want to really put the feet of Sentinels to the torch in that next game. But right now, we've got a really competitive matchup, and getting to see Luminosity now, coming out under the new branding with, months and months of time together as a team has been really enjoyable.
My dad came downstairs. He's like, what am I watching? And I was like, okay, great point, Dad. There's a lot going on right now with the shields and then the circles of shields within another circle of shield. But these pro players, they know how to maximize the ult combinations. And that's when you saw the team fights changing. Here's a small example of it. The torch comboed with the Groot. I think we're going to see a lot more of that tonight. How long before one of these teams decides there's no more Johnny in the air, Avast? Do you think we see him last into a game 3 as we go to Burn and T'Challa for domination?
I don't know. It could be some old info in terms of the dive, in terms of like people just finding out that maybe they find the Human Torch with the Groot just be so much more viable overall. I mean, he's been a very big mainstay of the meta now for both regions across for Rivals Fight Night. So I do think that this is just going to be potentially maybe an evolution of we just feel like we can't exist without Johnny. We can't exist without Human Torch just sitting in the sky, farming damage, finding those crucial picks too with the Meteor. So I do think that maybe the meta's shifted yet again to be like, yeah, actually, we're just Human Torch pilled. Like, that's all we're going to play.
Shout out to Venom. Short appearance being made here. Will we see more dive tanks? Is the thing still a thing? Hasn't been tonight. We're going into a game number 3. I don't think you're going to see a thing on Burn and T'Challa anytime soon. I did hear a great idea from chat, though. What if Moon Knight was able to throw Jeff? Genius.
Should every hero be able to throw Jeff at this point? I feel like we should just get everyone should.
Can you throw him off the map?
Every hero should be able to throw another hero. Is my only rule.
I like that. Does Jeff have to consent to being thrown?
No. Most of the time they can't. Like if you were Moon Knight, I would suggest using your little hook thing, like hook onto him and then launch him somewhere, like a fishing pole.
Yeah.
I mean, can Jeff have is he sentient enough to understand to say yes or no?
I think Jeff
enough
he has 4 hands. Yeah, he knows what's up.
4 hands?
Cat's opening my windows. Here we go.
4 hands? That's crazy. Yeah, I think Jeff can consent to being thrown or not, so I don't know. Yeah. But to be fair, I don't get to consent to being swallowed or not. Do you know what I mean? So like it's all fair. What do you think, Connor? Any thoughts?
I'm gonna say that I think Mitch is really he's spitting. He's spitting over there.
Yeah, bye.
Great analyst. Adios is looking really platonic lately, Chad. I agree.
Yeah.
Great point. We're seeing really platonic gameplay coming through. Yeah. All right, Hulk, Psylocke, and Luna constantly banned. On the other side, we're getting rid of your cap. We never want to see an Iron Fist in our game for FlyQuest. And then we'll pick your fly guy. It might be Torch next game. I want to see a little bit different meta. I'm not going to lie here, guys. Ban a Groot. Let's get weird.
Yeah, or ban Torch if you can. I mean, I don't think that like teams will just pick up Storm. Storm's very powerful with a team up potentially, but you take Torch out and we start to get like a little weird. We get into like we might have chances like for Bucky to shine. I do think like the cap is more scary there as well. If we're more boots on the ground, but that would be your first stop if you don't want to handle with that gameplay. But Energy doesn't seem to mind there being an entire like duelist slot on the opposition team designed to feed their ultimate. So they might be happy enough to allow the torches just to be there, especially if you have one of your own. You just cancel out each other's damage and just try and win the Hella diff.
Oh, we can heal now too. All right. Has the Hella diff been in favor of FlyQuest?
I mean,
or
the
is
last
it
map,
March
yes,
from Luminosity
sure.
You're giving it to Avast?
No.
So far, I definitely think that. I mean, if you look at the first map, like they didn't really play that much Hela, right, for FlyQuest. There wasn't that much Hela played. You know, they tried to roll out the Wolverine initially. I think when you look at Path, like, obviously Energy had a much bigger impact, I would say, on the Hela than March, conversely, and just in general, as like when you look at the overall impact of the Duelist. But I do think for them, you know, you worry about, like, if we want to see something new here, I don't necessarily want to continue to say, like, let's match the Hela if I'm Luminosity. If anything, I'm like, let's remove the Hela, because realistically, like, what is the counter to this composition if you remove the Hela, right? Hela's the only thing that can really hard counter the Flyers in general. It requires a pretty big strategic shift for FlyQuest to be like, okay, we don't have Hela anymore. We either need to go full Flyer, triple Vanguard, triple Strategist, something that's like very different here than just like, let's play this 2-2-2 kind of like, you know, very standard composition, and we have someone that's able to abuse the flanks and fight the Flyers super effectively.
Didn't Luna Snow's damage fall off get reduced a bit?
It did. It's almost non-existent now. It's like, so Luna's decent, pretty decent at it.
I feel like ice arts as well, being like pretty much hit scan, and your projectiles being like very fast, gives you something else to like kind of punish these flies. It's subtle, but she's always been pretty good at doing that anyway. Or her hit registration is always quite snappy. So that's an option, but I think, yeah, if Hela's not in the game...
LG bans it. They also ban it because they know that. They see, Mitch, you called it out because, like, it's gone. They're banning it first every time in the ban phase, which I think is definitely part of that option, right? Of, like, you're removing Luna from the team up, you're removing Luna as a potential counter to some of the flying. So I do think this is just, like, another angle that they've kind of removed here for LG.
This is the 5th time I've seen this graphic of Vast. Who is scared to play? Is it FlyQuest or is it Luminosity? I know it's your first night here, Nacho, Mr. NA social media manager, but I'm going to need you guys to get in these games. This is how it works on Rival Fight Night. I call you out to your face.
Yeah, we get grumpy.
I mean, overall, I think we were told this FlyQuest needed the minute. However, minute means something very different in esports.
Yeah.
Because like, if a minute is generally 60 seconds. So yeah. I'm of the impression that maybe, you know, minute's a little bit different. Maybe it's a FlyQuest minute. Maybe an esports minute.
It could be like a nervous poo. You know, it's happened to all of us, you know, like, you're about to see your favorite band and you got there a little bit too early. They're about to come on stage. Do you leave in the middle of the set or you go right now? Uber, they're leaving in the middle of the set.
Yeah, that's, you know what? That's a decision. But actually, I do want to ask you guys, we had a poll briefly in the chat.
Yeah.
What the name of the Groot and Human Torch combo should be. What do you guys think is the best one out of Grorch, Groomin?
Which was that was the voted one, right?
Groomin is pretty rude, yeah.
Or Hoot?
Hoot is a Pokemon. I think Hoot sounds like a Pokemon, so I wouldn't use Hoot. Toot, I mean, come on. Groomin, I mean...
Northrop Grumman out there in the game?
I mean, also in the world of esports, it's always tough to be having more Grumman out there, you know? Like, we don't necessarily need more of that. So,
you need to stay on Discord.
I think Gorch might be the best option, honestly, all things considered.
I was thinking Harry Grumman show, and you had to go, that's crazy.
You were thinking that. We knew you were thinking of Harry Grumman, who we're all very familiar with.
Yeah. Well, Harry Grumman, of course. Harry Grumman.
Yes.
Northrop
Grumman. Known
Yes.
aerospace defense contractor, Northrop Grumman.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah, any SpaceX engineers in the chat? We're going to love this one. Let's talk
I'm glad we got
aerospace.
Grorch.
Super Gomez, who do you want us to DQ? I'll give one of them an L right now.
Can I DQ myself?
All right. Gomez is ready to play. So are we. Let's get into our bans and protect. Shout out the players. We hope you wiped. It's game time, baby. And your first ban.
Legendary feel from us, guys. Honestly, quick pat on the back for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not one job was lost. Huge.
Yet.
Yeah. Yes.
Countdown.
Torch is gone. We all win. It was worth the wait, ladies and gentlemen. It was worth. We got a new mech being set.
Get him out. I like it. I do like the Torch being banned because I do think this changes up the dynamics a lot because obviously Flyers can still be very persistent, but I don't think any Flyer right now is as strong as Human Torch, and it requires a hard counter nearly as much as like Human Torch to a degree. So I do like that. I think this is the right play in general.
My dreams of a Grorching have been completely scuppered. I'm so ungrorched right now.
Who's gonna do the grooming?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Grorch was the one that won,
who's gonna do it now? Harry. Back over to you with the captain protect. All right, so we're gonna see some punching in the face. Who goes with the captain? A Jeff?
I mean, a Jeff does. A Jeff historically has gone with the captain. I do think, you know, you're seeing things like Psylocke, but they've been banned. So, I mean, I look at this and I'm like, Jeff, maybe. Oh, Hulk protected. So I mean, this is feeling like a very. It could be just a fake out of like, okay, we have the Hulk, so we have the option to use the Namor to like counter some of the dive from the Captain America potentially.
I think anyone is excited to play Namor when it sneaks through. You're like, oh yeah, I'll just lock it in for a stage or two, Dad. All right, we got Emma Frost, the Vanguard being locked in. So double Vanguard protect, and we're gonna close it out with a Namor ban. Luminosity says, yeah, crap on that idea. Psylocke is banned. So what? You got Magneto doubled is kind of the best team up available there. On the other side, what are we doing, FlyQuest? You got rid of a Storm, a Flyboy.
Is it crazy to invoke the name of Iron Man at this point in the draft? Because
not crazy at all.
Obviously, like you have access to Gamma Overdrive with this team up, and honestly, it's pretty good. Might be the preferable flyer, and we often see Iron Man on this Burn and Chala map specifically.
It's Beamy Boy time. He's coming out. I think he nailed it, Uber. And Black Panther is also going to be in the mix, chat. I
don't know about Black Panther.
We got a Jeff spotting. Why not a Panther? It's his home map. Let's get going to game number 3. Shout out to FlyQuest. Shout out to Luminosity. Thank you for finishing your break and playing games. This is Rivals Fight Night.
Kind of mix it up. I was thinking of Hall of Jalia.
Yeah, Hall of Jalia. I mean, to be fair, Iron Man has seen some play on this map too. It is like there are some opportunities for it to happen. So you weren't wrong. It was just you were given a fake memory. You're given a bit of a fake memory there.
I mean, could I have the memory of the last 5 minutes replaced with anything else?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, let's double it.
I'm never going back for this. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, we might see this from Adios, which is kind of fun. Obviously, let's not forget, Hela is very much still on the table. And obviously, you've got great mobility as Iron Man, but you do need to linger around to get that Unibeam value. I do like that new Winter Soldier skin. Get off the Panther. Hela, it's going to be for energy.
And it is some Iron Man. So I think that was definitely the direction they were going to go. I do think for LG, I mean, this is not quite dive, but it is still a very aggressive comp here with both the Punisher. You know, you get the team up with the Rocket Raccoon. You still have also just that Captain that's going to make a lot of space. Maybe try to keep some pressure onto the backline, onto energy. So for LG, their comp is kind of a question of can March and Brady get a lot of value when you don't have a very beefy front line?
The energy here. Oh, hello. Arso breaks his foot off in energies. Comes straight on through. There's nothing there I can do about that. No warning either. That's dirty stuff. Alfie here on the point. Awful high up, of course, getting the double jump from your little Rocket Raccoon, which definitely needs to be mentioned because we have a Punisher here that is empowered with infinite ammunition, and it's definitely a natural answer to the Iron Man. FlyQuest find that one on elimination, but March is going to be 3D printed back into the game. Still no capture, but FlyQuest make it close, and for just a second, they're able to live on the point, take control.
And even with that early pick, I mean, it just wasn't enough to deal with how just strong the FlyQuest frontline is. They're just going to walk on forward, but LG, they're not giving up yet. They're going to be taking down Vest. They're going to be trying to stay in this fight here. They do have the ult.
Okay, there it is. Invisible Pulse Cannon claims, very crucially, the Punisher that had their ultimate online, if I'm not mistaken, that was being used as we spoke. Adios is getting some serious work done. Arso once more has been able to flatten the Hela. This is a big problem, obviously, for Hela to deal with. And with the first time energy already has got dragged over the coals by the cap in this game. March has not been able to do a whole lot with the fact that they don't have a cap running it.
And I do think part of this is just because when you have this really strong front line here, the angles for the Hela, if you're having an Iron Man, if you're having a counter Hela to deal with, you're not getting free reign to walk around, right? Like, you're really just not. So for right now, for LG, they just need to find some options to put their duelist onto these flanks a little bit more effectively.
Jeez, Bakshi got forced into an early ultimate there, but they do again catch the Punisher out once more. He'll have to be brought back into the game with a BRB. Here's the Goddess of Death. If you blink and you miss it. March not able to get too much done in that one, but Adios does eventually fall. There's energy though. Hela diff continuing to be reinforced now as FlyQuest get to 60%, and it's going to get worse for Luminosity. They have struggled to get a foothold here on Spaceport.
And I mean, honestly, right now, I mean, we don't get to see the Gorsh, but we just get to see the Groot in general, and having the sustainability, having the damage mitigation, all this damage in general, along with Strength Prison from Spark Chief, it's making it so hard for LG to stay in these fights long term. They just aren't able to mitigate enough damage. They aren't able to isolate targets as effectively. Spark Chief just getting a lot more value out of his kit in general with the Groot.
Vest holding on to Seduction here. Can he make good use of it? Remember, Luminosity are missing a healing ultimate from the strategist. Paradox obviously has a damage boost instead, so doesn't quite give them the staying power and the point that they'd like to have. Here comes Dreadhead. Ultimate at the ready. He has no idea what he's shooting at. He's just hoping it's going to do a little bit of damage. Pops himself up. Unibeam from Adios cuts short as March cuts their life short in turn. Dropping down now a Luminosity. Surely a key opening, but a lot of ultimates at the ready for FlyQuest. And Arso's been taken down, so there's the backline pressure out of the picture. Now, if you're Energy, you've got a little bit more work with it to maneuver in. Seduction comes in. March gets hit from God knows where, and Paradox got caught a little bit too close to the sun there as the Frost is able to bring him down. Player advantage here for FlyQuest now. Goddess of Death being shut down by March. They don't have theirs available, so they'll shut Energy down if they can, but not before the Punisher gets taken out of the game. Squeaky clean performance there from FlyQuest. Great start to take Spaceport.
I mean, the March and the Vanguards in general just having the worst day of their lives on that point for Spaceport, because they just, you see there at the very end, like they're just trying to find any sort of pick on the flank. They're getting danced on. The rest of their team's getting walked at because they have the Sonic Seduction. It's just allowing the Groot lets you be far more tankier on the front line, lets you sustain so much longer in general, and it's just putting a lot more pressure for Arso and March to just do something. They need to make something happen here, because when you have a Punisher, you're not really able to just, yeah, you could zip line into the back line, it's possible, but it's very risky. So you're playing a little bit more static there, so you're really hoping for those players to have something, you know, just make some space there for your Punisher. And I think, looking at the comps, looking at the swapping, it's, you know, Brady going over to the Winter Soldier, I think that might be just like, screw it, let's just swap it out, maybe even get the team up there.
You're right, it's time to go Squirrel Girl Avast.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
I'd be so here for that, honestly. This kind of map, she does like...
It's so hard with the high ground, though. It's so hard. Like, you can do it because of the jumps, but it is hard.
But if you control this like main atrium, she's like a real nuisance. You have to like mitigate all that damage and try and like have someone pick her off at long range. But again, at this level, don't expect to see it. Strangling Prison is ready for Spark Chief. Adios finds the skybox all too easily now, as clearly they drew some eyes from across the map. Nice finish off there on Dreadhead. Not much they could do about it here, Adios.
That was just a solo Strangling Prison on Brady. They just, Spark Chief just walked up top and solo Strangling Prison. Ready, so goodbye. Goodbye, Winter Soldier. Is March, though? Finding a pick, but unlikely to be able to contest the point here. It's going to be a cap for FlyQuest, as they're going to be holding on to Molten. Probably going to go down late.
Yeah, Adios. Unibeams March out of the game. There's honestly plenty of room here for the Iron Man to like sit up on the high ground on the, like, you know, the opponent's side of the map and be high. Like, there's no easy sight line there to pick them off, and you've got to push against the Iron Man inside these close quarters, which are often shielded off. There's an invincible pulse cannon at the ready. Adios is looking for the most fertile, most arable of grounds to lay this one down, and Valentina's already gone. That is massive. She's out of the game. Paradox doesn't have another strategist ultimate to copy.
He's just waiting platonically. He's waiting platonically here, Uber. I mean, there it is. He's done it. It's over.
I mean, it was pretty darn good. Getting rid of Alfie, too. A taste of his own medicine. Burst damage on the Magneto. Love to see it.
There's going to be another fight.
Chad, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I see a bunch of blue crowns and stuff. Did you know you could avoid ads here on Rivals Fight Night every Thursday by using Amazon's money? Put it to use. It's a free product.
Platonically, of course, for the audience.
Platonic crowns, yes.
Platonically, of course. So now FlyQuest, though, only holding on to the, pretty much just the God of Mischief. Spark Chief trying to contest a little aggressively up top here. I like this, trying to prevent LG from making some easy inroads right now when they're playing this kind of slow composition.
Yeah, FlyQuest happy to sort of now ease into a more glacial pace in this phase of the game. Energy got picked off, though. Arso somehow was able to find their way into the backline, which is surprising considering he's big brolic and blue. But the cap gets there. Big pick off. Adios and Coopertastic soon to fall. Finally, Luminosity get their window, and they get their time out in the sun here on Warrior Falls.
But now 81% for FlyQuest. They're going to have 4 ults coming up. They do get a late pick. They're on a Spark Chief, so a little bit extra time on the bank there. Love the flank. That's exactly what you need there. If March is going to be playing this Hela, they need to be setting up March more. I think sometimes, like, we've had this meta swap. Sometimes we forget the old ways. We forget, like, oh yeah, like I need to be getting to the back with Ella, and I need to be abusing these off angles here. FlyQuest now looking to recontest into 6 ults for LG, and the name of the game for LG is we can't let the fights be too expensive.
Yeah, they need to ration out these ultimates for what could be a bit of a long winter in terms of defending. Adios here having to contend himself with just some poke damage. This is one of the more awkward phases of the fight for the Iron Man to have to deal with, because God knows where March is. And you best believe they're looking straight at the Iron Man. There's no safe way as well to make use of this invincible pulse cannon right now. And Zelos randomly just dies. Yep, picked off as a knife finds him right in the chest.
And this is what you wanted. if you're LG. And we talked about a bit how March is a little quiet. Now March heating up a lot.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's looking really good right now for LG, with March just getting pick after pick after pick, and finally just getting the impact they need there. Similar to Energy, how Energy was playing on the Path of Yggdrasill. In fact, if anything, overshadowing Energy here a bit on the second round.
All right, this is the perch to play from. You got everything you could ask for. Contact lens to make sure your astigmatism doesn't get in the way of shots. Also give you a little bit of healing. There is a seduction here for Vez. Look at how FlyQuest are trying to bully up onto this high ground and deny March those really potent positions to play from. They've done that. Hella now out in the open, dropped into the town square for all to see. But how do you convert off this?
I mean, early region domain force too. That's actually pretty bad for FlyQuest. They don't have that region domain early.
Yeah, I guess they spend pretty heavily in order to get that position of us. Now we have to ask ourselves if it was worth it. Oh, they're lined up for this. Okay. A lot of those are Loki clones, though. So the seduction here attempts to control the high ground by throwing people away. But Adios gets flattened by the meteor in midair. And my goodness, I can't believe we're seeing it. Freddy comes here in with the Kraken impact. And he will go to town on them. Still good. Bucky, still good.
I mean, definitely, especially with some of the buffs. And you get like a little extra team up as well from the Captain America. So you can even give some bonus health to people now as well. So you have a lot of options there when using the Winter Soldier still, especially for a map that's kind of long range. You have some more options to poke. Love how LG was playing that comparatively to the first round. Definitely also just a much more of a heater there for Marchu. I mean, who's already just going for the first round, already at 6 final blows again.
Jeez, Vess also with 6 of their own. I think March,
yeah.
They find half of their final blows while Luminosity are in control of the point, and they're just punishing FlyQuest who are trying to move up in the choke. Even though they have a Magneto, there's not really what we would call a static shield like in play for either team, right? The Groot obviously can throw up some of those wheels here, and you know, Emma Frost can to some degree defend it. So, you know, you still are really susceptible to poke on either side here. Both Hellas have tons of opportunities to just pick random kills out of nowhere.
Well, some ults carried over from the round before as now FlyQuest rolling on out. Cooper Tastic probably gonna make the swap back to, yep, he's gonna go back to the Loki. Do some of the speed bubble tech. 4 ults in the bank here for FlyQuest means they can afford to be pretty aggressive. Just get the first cap. You always love to get that first cap early. It gives you a lot more opportunities as Valentina here on the flank with March, looking to just give value as we spam some Guardian Shields. We do be spamming and recalling some Guardian Shields.
Trying to make sure March is basically always got a protection. It's like playing, I don't know, the tuba in a marching band. So pick it up, get moving again. Sit yourself
Did your
back down.
cheeks get sore?
Yeah, probably. Do your cheeks get sore? That's a real question.
I mean that's a better question, and he's not in marching band.
Right, here we go. I mean, yeah, if I'll be getting up, sitting down a bit, I'm pretty sure my cheeks would be sore. That's the definition of doing squats, but March picked off at the start of this fight. Not the best start for Luminosity, is Adios apparently pretty unthreatened as the fight breaks down and no one's really looking at the Iron Man.
Yeah, and I think that long flank there for LG, you see the idea. We send Valentina, we send March onto that long flank trying to get some picks, but it's just not going to help if you lose your other strategist pretty early there. Paradox going down very, very early, so now you just don't have enough health. You're pretty split from the long flank, so just unfortunately there for LG, just nothing happens. There's Adios, he's hiding again for the pulse cannon. He's waiting for them to cross.
Yeah, you deny that platform in the middle of the top of your screen there. Make it so no one can peer out or look up at you until they're basically already committed. Adios going to double back, though. Doesn't like what they saw. Already a rejuve domain forced here. That's very early in the fight to make use of that. But hey, it works. Energy with a right click on Valentina. March went down to a Nastron Crowstorm explosion, a rare occurrence, and one that is the freest of free kills for the Hela.
I mean, you really don't ever see that. For those that aren't aware, you know, when you get the elim, when you get the final blow there, there's going to be a little crow that explodes out from the body and does some AoE damage. You don't see that happen too often, for sure. So now LG, I mean, 60% already for FlyQuest. Their bank is still looking great. I mean, we're pretty much getting into a situation where they're just hoping to maybe find a pick.
Yeah, I mean, Dreadhead is all close enough. The roster stern is still pretty threatening for the Iron Man to deal with. I love the Tainted Voltage. That would have dragged the Iron Man back down to Earth. It denies flyers. It's just a little bit slow of a projectile, so that's why you don't see Winter Soldier used to try and counter out those flying setups. Unfortunately for Luminosity, they've lost their Hela again. Energy finds the big pick off now. Goddess of Death is available and harder to punish, and you showed that clone. Brady, you absolutely messed that clone up. I'm honestly quaking. I'm a little titillated by that. Again, clearing out his clones if he can, but oh, buddy, here comes the Emma Frost to punish. Ready to get healthy once more. Again, just wants to try and clear these low-key clones. That is the order of the day. And they get their soul plucked out and eaten by Vess.
Pulse cannon gonna be coming up too. After the end of that, and okay, fine there from Alfie. Great find from Alfie. Again, denying the Ironman value. Gets the dunk. Valentina gonna find another. And Luminosity, they should be getting the flip here. Yeah, that's definitely what they're gonna be doing. And I mean, definitely not the most potent crack and impact coming out there for Brady, who's gonna make the swap to Iron Man. And it's just hard too in general when you're playing against a comp like this that plays a little split. You can afford to play super split too. They had saved the regeneration domains. So now FlyQuest with 99. I mean, they have all the time in the world here to just take some fights, get some ults out of LG, build up their bank. It's gonna be a very, very hard.
Quick shout out to Pigzilla13. Excuse me, Pigzilla13. He says, you do not use your cheeks to play the tuba, guys.
Oh.
What's a HBCU? What is that?
That's a historically black college, I believe.
Okay. I don't want to ask. But thank you for explaining the acronym. I'll leave that one there. Also in the middle part of the map here, looking to duke it out with Vess. They get chunked a little low here, and we need to respect this damage. It's ready over the fight. I think spotted out by Adios as he tries to reposition now. There's March getting on the board in a big way. What a pick to get. Loki out of the mix. FlyQuest very, very, very low now with only Zelos to heal them up. They should succumb.
See the poking still coming out. March relatively uncontested. Here comes gonna be Vess walking on forward, trying to just get in their faces. I mean, this is just a sack fight there for FlyQuest, right? You don't have to commit much. You're trying to get ults out of LG. LG though know that they didn't commit too much. Still gonna have nearly 5 in the bank. They're doing a pretty good job of managing this ult economy here. So for FlyQuest, I mean, it's becoming to like a 70% here for the net recontest. I mean, if it doesn't go well here, you're stuck getting onto the Doctor Strange. You're gonna use the portals. So this is really gonna be the fight here for FlyQuest, for LG.
Avast, who are you cheering for? Keep it a buck. This is the swing moment.
I mean, right now, I would love to see, FlyQuest get another so we can just keep going for the map 5, honestly. I just feel like we're going to do just trading the map so long.
Yeah.
Game on.
I mean, for FlyQuest, honestly, they hire Aussies. I'm a big fan. Guys, hit me up. Make it happen. Redhead over the course of this fight now has started to have some impact on this Iron Man, but as March again striking towards energy, and this is very, very dangerous for FlyQuest. They at least have their strategists in play, and they do have an invisible boundary, but look at this damage. March is coming alive when it really matters. Here's the boundary, but it's used in a position where FlyQuest can't contest that easily. They have to jump out of that healing radius to actually go after Luminosity. Giving the team in control of the point right now, a lot more breathing room. That was a response from March. I think they were getting pressured on the ground and had to get out of it, but a Unibeam will knock them out of that form, and that's a big pick for Fez. There might be something here for FlyQuest, a chance to get back into the game.
Oh, and what an encirclement there from FlyQuest. I mean, they kept the pressure there onto March to force the Goddess of Death. Now Alfie going to be trying to do the dunk again. He does it again. I mean, he's been hitting them over and over again. But however, might be too little too late because Energy's made it back on the Doctor Strange. There's going to be the Elims and FlyQuest. I mean, what a good swap there. What good focus onto March.
This would be for the map here. And Luminosity now don't have an option to get in. They don't have a portal to advance, and it will be FlyQuest taking away Burn Chala. What a great back and forth. So Iron Man, so a little bit of everything, honestly. FlyQuest now showing us they've got a bit of grip with this new look roster. I am here for it.
FlyQuest taking the swing game 3. It was a pivotal round, and they are able to lock it up. If you're looking at kind of an MVP, I know the game is going to award Cooper-tastic, who was able to do a lot of work on that Loki, both copying his teammates and, of course, healing. But who do you give it to, Avast? Outside of the numbers, who had the impact plays that you saw?
Outside of the numbers, it's tough. I mean, I think in general, you maybe you're like, oh, we go to Energy by default. He's something really good. I actually have to say that I really loved Smart Chief on the Groot for this particular map. And if I wouldn't give the Spark Chief Groot, then maybe I would use Vest for the aggression. But I do think Spark Chief's Groot was really important for getting some of the early rounds. I think it kept a ton of pressure onto LG, who didn't feel nearly as incentivized it felt to try to mirror that Groot in their matchup. They were really trying to play a little bit different compositions. And I think the Groot made a big difference in terms of the overall space, having the strengthening presence. It's just such a strong hero when it works for you and you don't feel like you're getting that extra pressure to just make Groot a little bit less effective.
And on the duelist side, Uber, who's been more impressive? Are you looking at the team Luminosity North America or FlyQuest?
Yeah, a tough call to make because I think it ended up getting pretty close, but the Energy for me is just edging out March. I think that what we saw from Energy on those first 2 maps and maybe a quieter second, was pretty impactful. The Iron Man from Adios was a lot of fun to see, but again, you have to play a really particular way to avoid just getting picked off by Hellas all across the map. But it's great to see that combo, right? once again, we have the duelists where you've got your flyers who are very susceptible to the hellers, and it's like a battle whose heller can get more value, or whose flyer can play in awkward sightlines that can't, be used by the opposing hit scan to get great damage. Very, very interesting interplay there.
So I asked my dad if this game was more digestible since there wasn't flames everywhere. He said no, he's still confused. But
Okay, good.
it was a little easier to follow. Shout out domination and a single objective to follow. And also plays like this. The big explosions make it pretty simple to understand somebody died. And for the first time, people have to prioritize Rocket's ultimate. I love the new season of Vast. Everything is changing in the right way.
Yeah, I do think this is a pretty big change of pace where we had, I think, meta being discovered slowly of oh, maybe we can change up a bit. But we're just getting away from the 3-3s, the triple strategists, the triple vanguards. It feels like we're a little bit more into we're going to get up in the air. We're going to be really aggressive. We're going to be taking very brawly fights a lot.
Can we all go around in a circle and say a nice thing about Cooper? One each, please. I thought their invisible boundary copies were on point. Okay, now you go, Avast.
I think that they definitely were doing a lot of damage or hitting the left clicks on Loki. So I do think that they were putting a lot of pressure, just damage-wise, which is very important.
All right.
Uber, I've only been in esports about 22 years, and I find that the players that worry about what the people say about them in the middle of the match probably aren't going to be around long. Cooper-tastic, enjoy the limelight, buddy.
Holy flame! Holy flame!
Damn, I literally just dragged Cooper out into the town square to get fucking flamed by a Chris Pocket. That is tough, brother. Yeah, my
I've only
bad.
seen a few of you flame out, buddy. You're a first-round wide receiver. Good luck keeping your knees healthy.
Everyone in the chat, join in. Nice things about Cooper only from here on out. Again,
shout out to the strategist, by the way. We would not want to play the game if you weren't healing us. Thank you for your ultimates that get negated by someone else's. Flash your ultimate. Let's get into the action, though, with the game number 4, because this is Luminosity NA's pick of Ast. After
a quick break. Don't forget that one.
Yeah.
Production tells us about at the same time. But, be excited. Be excited. It's going to be a banger.
Cooper-tastic's mom in the chat. I apologize, Cooper-tastic. I love you. We'll see you in a minute.
That's crazy.
Welcome back to the home of Cooper-tastic. It's Rivals Fight Night. Do you sometimes hide behind structures that get destroyed?
No, thankfully.
No, man. No. I don't live in the Marvel universe, so hopefully I don't have to deal with that ever.
Yeah, that poor Torch just looking for some safety, like your cat. He's looking for a tree. Someone knocked this tree down, Avast. What's going on here?
Move somewhere for tax evasion purposes. I do think Yggdrasill Path, though, might be pretty high on my list. Do they have secret bank accounts like the Swiss? Because sign me up.
Yep. I would get a penthouse there for sure. We're going into a game 4 though, and I don't know where it's going to be played. Avast. It's Luminosity's decision, and they want the Hall. Why are we seeing so much domination right now? And what are you expecting moving forward here?
Not domination, that's for sure. Because it ain't a map.
That would be. This is technically. Isn't this a?
This is
convergence?
A convergence.
This is a convergence map. Yeah. So, technically, I do think that he's vacuuming again. He's vacuuming to Phil. Now that he's been called out. So that one's gonna go good. That's going to the audio only podcast that goes to Spotify. We're putting the vacuuming segment. That's.
Anyone remember what just happened? Me neither. Moving on, we've got Hall of Jolia, a fantastic non-domination convergence map, and then we're going to see a domination game 5 if we get there, probably. Let's get into our ban and protect, because the players have only had 22 minutes to make their decision, Uber. 22.
Yeah, and honestly, this is not enough time to decide, which is your favorite odd socks you're going to put on your hand and pretend it's a puppet while you talk to your team.
What? Am I missing something? Something? I'm like, are we on a broadcast? Is this a break? Nathan Fielder, come on out.
I've been very professional this whole time. ZP's in the chat telling me I said the F word. Definitely didn't
right?
Didn't
just made that up.
He doesn't
Chat,
even listen to you. I listen to you. Uber.
if I say the F word, go back and clip it. I'm pretty sure that never happened. I would never do that on the broadcast.
No.
I have way better words to use.
It's true.
It's true. He's Australian. He's got that. I mean, either way, hashtag
like
cancel
Grorch.
Uber in the chat. Grorch. That's true. That's a good point. We've got Grorch. Well, hey, guess speaking, we're not getting Grorch.
No torch. And there's
we're not getting it.
The Groot. What's a Grootless torch? Torchless Groot.
Okay. I mean, do you think they're just gonna go? Are they just really gonna bust out the same thing again here? Because okay, Human Torch ban, Luna Snow ban, Groot protected. Do we get anything different? Like, do we just go? Because also this would be another map like you talked about Uber like earlier, where you mix it up with Berman, but like you write both maps. It's like this would be a pretty decent Iron Man map again, where teams have been playing that a lot. Captain America protected again, so yeah, maybe it could be a Psylocke.
Psylocke ban. Do it for the third time, fourth time.
They've been banning a lot of Iron Fist though. They've been liking to get rid of Iron Fist though. Oh yep, there it is.
Yep. Iron Fist here, I mean, is actually good at killing flyers. I know this sounds crazy, but the less mobile flyers in NA last week, we were watching Iron Fists just like tear them apart. He's that much mobility right now in the wall run that kind of allows him to get that altitude whenever he needs it. Like he's legitimately scary for them.
We have a Hulk protect. Namor has not made it through when Hulk has all night. I don't think it's going to happen. So are you forcing Luminosity to make that decision as they protect the Star-Lord?
Interesting. I mean, I wonder if they ban Namor here. If they ban, okay, yeah. So they're banning Namor and protecting the Star-Lord. So you protected the Hulk, but you don't really get like that anti-dive. Now, it gives me the option to maybe like do some other interesting potential things because you still have the Iron Man to duel the Star-Lord. But realistically, I don't think Iron Man's
ban Magneto
into Star-Lord.
Ban
Magneto. Maybe Magneto ban. Magneto ban would be good.
No more slam dunks.
Yeah, get rid of the bulwark here. If you don't want to play, if you don't want to play Star-Lord, you can deny the deny the res. That's also again another way of targeting the Star-Lord. Probably even more important than denying the bulwark from Magneto. But you know, Luminosity can still go in that direction. You can't have Adam Warlock in the game when we see Star-Lord protect.
I just want to see Hulk for like a fraction of a second tonight. Maybe jumping on a Star-Lord out of the sky, bringing him back down to Earth. We're going to the hall, ladies and gentlemen. Lock in. This is only match 1 of 2 for North America. Winner of this series moves on to play Sentinels in our grand finals for $1,000. It's Rivals Fight Night. Uber and Avast on the mic.
All right, Hall of Jalia coming up for our 4th map in this series. And it's been a quiet one for Luminosity Gaming NA ever since that very strong Hell's Heaven showing. They tried to take us back to a domination map, and even that didn't work out because Energy has not bothered trying to play Wolverine, and it has been to the credit of this FlyQuest squad. The Hell gameplay has been sublime. They figured out that targeting Human Torch gives them a little bit of an edge. So let's see how it plays out now in Hall of Jalia. FlyQuest will be starting on defense, and once more, Iron Man rears his head.
What the Gorch? People in chat. What the Gorch just
Any
happened?
Gorches?
What the Gorch just happened? I'm gonna start busting that one out. But now LG here on the attack first, and we obviously running the Star-Lord, not busting out the Adam Warlock, which obviously was banned, so they won't be having the sort of the res composition. And instead just playing kind of a similar style. You know, they didn't ban the Magneto, so it's pretty similar to what they were playing before. Just gonna be having just a very, very aggressive solo take with Arso, and then hoping to anchor it here with Alfie to just make the space and maybe set up March, maybe potentially get ready behind to get something happening.
Well, there it is. There's the bulwark, of course. That's why we kind of talked about maybe looking at the Magneto. Brady here controls the high ground pretty well, but needs to keep on the move. That is the most important part of things here. March is down. Okay. But Energy also falls. So now the Iron Man, though, for FlyQuest gets to play that much more aggressive. Adios has a window here to really be a nuisance, really be a big part of these fights. See if they can accrue that value. Great force physics. Look at that. It pulls FlyQuest's front line inward, but LG can't quite find enough damage.
And in that window, nothing really happens, honestly. It's just a little bit more poke, which is still great for FlyQuest because they control the point here. Ult's gonna be zooming up. Early Galactic Legend just hoping to have something happen. Gonna be really just forcing out as, oh my god, the find on Arso.
Dreadhead here. That is a Galactic Legend. Unfortunately, that is just no way to get value out of. Unibeam there will take him out of the game. Luminosity NA bundled out of that main area. Now back over towards that spawn direction. And FlyQuest here will have another invisible boundary. Zelos working on their next one as well.
And again, you have to point out this Groot composition because even with Adios on the Iron Man, who's pretty vulnerable to both the duelist picks, for Luminosity. Like, you love how they're just playing the corner, they're bunkering it, they're letting the group make the space, just also let them back up when the aggression comes out for LG here. So the group continue to be a problem for LG as they come back in here onto the point, trying to just make anything happen here, trying to take them off this corner, off this angle.
Oh god, there it is. Great rejuve to main, and it comes at the perfect time. There's FlyQuest in that window where everybody from LG is looking at Spark Chief. March and Arso get blown to smithereens. Alfie caught him amidst this mess, and now have a look at that. Pulse Cannon at the ready here for Adios. Could be devastating, especially with only one, god, if that, shield tank on Luminosity side.
Yeah, I think this is just the issue here, right? Is that, like, Arso is on the Captain America hoping to make some space, and nothing's happening, right? You're not getting any pressure into the strategist backline here for FlyQuest at all. So you're trying to round this corner into the Groot, you know, into the Emma Frost. You have the Iron Man playing close, just constantly just pounding you with damage here. So you really need LG to get a little more value here out of Captain America to maybe make something happen.
All right, in they come once more, Luminosity. Oh, March again down. Energy is, I'm sorry, the gap is starting to look chasmous at the moment. Alfie has to trend away, and FlyQuest have no reason at all to think about these ultimates. They're going to build up 6 of them now. Luminosity have theirs ready, but never have a chance to use them. It's always a big... they are getting movement off the face of the map. It's true.
I mean, they have 6 ults. They have 6 ults. This is the fight. They need to commit. They need to send Arso in. Like, maybe they just throw it in, drop the freedom charge early to get the, you know, the speed buff, get a little bit of the bonus health. Just walk on in and let your team take the fight here, knowing there's no strength in prison, knowing you don't have to worry about that to just, like, find someone isolated or force a strategy ult pretty early. And Valentina's dead off the blank there from energy. So
March has to win this fight. They have to, nobody else is dealing with the Hello. Arso, maybe someone that could, you know, answer that threat. March just doesn't. Look at these sidelines. They suck. They can barely see anything. March does not want to be looking at the front line, trying to get chip damage. They need to go after someone like Adios, who's just been untouched entirely. He's a galactic legend. Is it going to be enough to get rid of the Iron Man? Now March apparently has a bit more room to come forward.
Ready? Now is they just retreated to the corner. They just retreated to the corner here, and they have the ults late. They had to use them just to get to the point. So now March has made it to the back line, and they need to make something happen.
I mean, God, as a death feels like it's a bit of a, you know, a panic button being hit by March. They drop down instantly, trying to get out with the crow form, force physics straight back into the mix of FlyQuest players who are honestly chilling. This is sipping margaritas by the beach level chilling for FlyQuest now. Can they, Luminosity that is, find a way to really make them respect them? Another pick of energy. That's 2 of this Goddess of Death. Devastating impact with Loki out of the game. Paradox fuming about that one. No strategist ultimates up for LG either, Advance. This is cooked, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a complete, just fall apart, just disaster here for the composition, I think, and the offense in general, because they just didn't. I mean, I struggle to ask what the Captain America did for them at any point there, right? Like, they would really love to maybe have like a counter Emma Frost, to have a Groot of their own to aggressively push the point. Anything really, even a Strange, like with the, you know, you get some of the buffs a bit earlier. You can use the portals to navigate around. Like, it just didn't feel like this comp made a lot of sense for them personally and what they were trying to accomplish. So, I mean, you could even say that it kind of sucked. Puckett?
I wouldn't say it sucked.
Okay, I was hoping for a vacuum.
Yeah, a vacuum moment
there. I was really hoping for a vacuum to come in. So
well, it's a dryer, okay?
Oh, it blows. It doesn't suck. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
It's not a jet, all right?
Well, okay. I mean,
it's a one-way jet.
I could definitely use a different term, but that would match that. But I do think that overall that this is just, it wasn't ideal for LG. It wasn't ideal, and they definitely just needed a little bit more synergy with their composition there, or just something to happen, because they just, even the fight when they had 6 ults into the 5 for FlyQuest, you said it there, Mitch, where they just chilled. They could play the group, they could isolate all the angles, and just wait to just like hide from the ults and come back in.
I've been informed, by the way, that I actually did drop an F-bomb.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you where it is. I'm not going to tell you where it is, chat. You have to find it and then tweet it at me. But I did do it. That is crazy.
If they tweet it to you, what do they get, Uber? Give them an incentive.
I'll retweet it. I'll be like, yo, fair play. Fair play.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. The F-bomb stands for Freya, actually. It's a Marvel universe coded. It's actually just, it's more Marvel. That's what the F-bomb is.
Huge bomb.
He's so like mythology coded. He loves mythos.
Dude, I'm so up on the classics, bro. You wouldn't believe it. Like, Rod Stewart is my goat. I'm all up in that. Anyway, let's go to the left side of the map now with FlyQuest.
Poor Rod.
Yeah, well, you know, he asked for it. Luminosity on defense here. So Look at this little perch that March has taken up here. Again, perfectly set up for the Invisible Woman to protect them. And honestly, it's hard to deal with. I like the Brady switch to the Wolverine here, but it does require you to have that high ground control.
I mean, Brady just trying to contest, looking for, okay, right now just getting shot, really. Just getting shot repeatedly. And they're trying to just pressure FlyQuest where the drop happens, and maybe they can get a kidnap, maybe just get someone with the leap. But so far, I mean, they're just kind of just dodging around the shots. Nothing much is happening with them.
Yeah, I mean, FlyQuest here want to get energy in there. Oh, there it is. Oh, no. Valentina, you just got grorched. And now energy can start to make their way across the map. You maybe even look to take the Hella fight. Oh, okay, March is going to float down. I think they realize the writing is probably on the wall at this point. And so, Luminosity and A vanquished this FlyQuest will get themselves a date with Sentinels, the final boss, just to show us how far they've come as a team in this little off period.
And the group continuing to pay dividends, I think, for FlyQuest. Honestly, like, yeah, I do like that they're getting rid of Human Torch. I do like that they're trying to... Oh, he's got... Okay, we have to talk about Cooper. We got to talk about him. We have to talk about him now.
Yeah.
Great performance from Cooper.
Zero deaths.
Perfect regeneration domains. Perfect no deaths.
Amazing skincare routine. Honestly, on point.
Yes. Yes, so true, Cooper. So true. You know, that this was all Cooper. All Cooper-tastic, honestly.
I saw him in the kill feed.
Yep. No, I saw him in the kitchen with the candlestick as well. Nicely done. FlyQuest do advance to our money match. Let's go.
I gotta say, Vez has really been fun to watch on the Emma Frost. That's who I've been running in most of my ranked games. He's got some powerful suplexes, but the kicks are the finisher. We don't see enough Emma Frost. Also, Adios showing us an Iron Man. I feel like Tony's been missing in action for weeks here on Rivals Fight Night. FlyQuest and NA doing it a little different from what we saw from Europe earlier, Vest.
Overall, yeah, I tend to agree. I think FlyQuest came out, looked a little bit struggling, maybe like, oh, maybe we don't know exactly what to play, but honestly, all they had to do was just remove the Human Torch. Just get rid of the Human Torch. They played a little more style that fits them a bit better. Maybe they didn't feel confident playing it. Maybe they don't feel confident playing into it. Either way, I think it also continues the trend of just North America outside of maybe Sentinels to a degree it doesn't feel like they're still adjusted to Human Torch and just playing with and against Human Torch to a degree and just integrating around that. So I do think that still gives Sentinels a bit of an edge potentially for their challenger coming back up, playing into FlyQuest.
Shout out to FlyQuest being in the chat. You win this series, you are moving on to a championship match against the Sentinels. It'll be another best of 5, but we got a lot to look back at from this 4-game series. Uber, you watched a lot of talented players in this lobby. Who was the most exciting for you? Was it a Vanguard? Was it a duelist? Or a strategist for you today?
So, like, I love Spark Chief. I think they're such a sick group. Some really, crucial ultimates, especially some from downtown on Yggdrasill Path there was really good. But right now, Marvel Rivals is, because it's a game that has such high healing, and now with the inclusion of like these flyer comps, the Hella is the most important player in shutting down that flyer. Not the most important player on the team, but these picks that Energy was able to get for free, I think, are just far too important. It completely changes the way the game plays. Before, it was like a war of attrition. It's like healing versus the Human Torch damage and just who wins out there. Like, it's about front lines getting chunked down, slowly burn. It's about how you use cooldowns. It's kind of Resident Sleeper. But once the Hella makes her way into the composition, it's about, getting these early picks. Look what Energy just did on that map. Like, that should be studied. It was completely filthy, and March couldn't match them. When you've got not only a Hella with amazing aim, but great game sense and good positioning, you can take over the game, and you don't have to ever worry about those enemy flyers.
Chad, I said it the first week he was on. Energy is the best Hella in North America. Am I wrong? Or is he just today's MVP? It's time to take a look. Vast, walk me through some of the best moments here, because he played more than just Hella, but the headshots were coming from the goddess.
Yeah, I think overall, like, obviously we're starting out here with some of the Wolverine plays, which frankly was the most unimpressive part of it today. I mean, we got to see a little bit of flexibility, but him on the Hella, I mean, just constantly in the kill feed, constantly getting a pick when you need it most, starting with the Path of Yggdrasill there. Just, I do think for Energy, they were a huge difference maker. Moving to the Hella, kept the pressure up on not only when Brady was on the Human Torch, but when Brady was off the Human Torch, just continuing to utilize and get value from the flanks repeatedly over and over and over again. And also, so importantly, it was just the Hella v Hella matchup for him to March, where frankly he was winning it the majority of the day.
I saw someone in chat say, look on the other side, March is either going to get 0 kills or 6 kills. I feel like the Hella ultimate, everyone's figured out at this point, Uber. Oftentimes, she's just instantly grounded, but Energy's still finding some value in his.
I mean, Yeah, a lot of it I think has to do with making sure that the enemy hell is not alive. She's one of the most problematic ones. I thought March actually did a great job on Yggdrasill Path by ulting second and bringing down the energy in that Goddess of Death form, and then getting like a more uncontested ult. Because there's no Doctor Strange in the game right now, that ultimate is actually pretty important. It's quite relevant. So being able to do that uninterrupted for the longest period of time is definitely the name of the game. But I mean, energy's too good. It was just a ridiculous Hela series, and I think that if you want to play Human Torch, you need to ban the Hela and then just allow whatever else through, like the Lunar Snow, for example. But there are a couple of different options that you can protect to make sure you have an answer, thank God, against these flyer comps.
Big shout out to our production. I'm watching these highlights and I'm just smiling. Solomon and all of our observing team behind the scene, you guys are killing it. Keep it going. And a reminder, if you've been tuning into Rivals recently, you'll be happy to know $3 million across the globe. There is going to be competition coming your way very soon. Before you get to that competition, come to Rivals Fight Night every Thursday for the most up-to-date comps. When we come back, Avast, we got a whole nother matchup. Who's playing?
It'd be Sentinels versus FlyQuest. So, I mean, once again, some red versus green. We got a little bit of a Christmas war going on a little bit.
Two huge orgs taking each other on in Rivals. It's NA. We'll be right back.
Meet me under the mistletoe then.
What do we got this time? Oh my God! From the top right!